Welcome to the Wholesaling 2.0 course by New Breed Investors. My name is Tim, and I'll be walking you through the entire process of how to start your business from zero to get you to closing 2 to 3 deals per month on a consistent basis. So over the last probably 4 years I've been wholesaling, we've closed at least 5 to 7 deals per month, all virtually, right? So we started off in our backyard in Kentucky. We were doing fix and flips, wholesaling deals in the backyard. And then in 2023 to 2024, we actually converted fully into a virtual market in Houston, Texas. So if you guys have been following me for a while, you guys know that I do a ton of deals in Houston. And we've been through a whole entire roller coaster of all different marketing channels. So we've spent $78,000 in 2024 on inbound marketing after we paid a $30,000 coach to teach us all these different strategies on becoming an inbound marketing machine. And that obviously crushed us, right? We barely broke even during the whole year. We were flipping 2 or 3 houses a month trying to break even. And ultimately, we learned that sticking to what we were good at in the first place, sticking to our roots, sticking to what we are already used to, actually produced us the most income. So we went to a whole different reimage branding of like what type of marketing we were doing, what type of strategy we're doing. And this free Wholesale 2.0 course actually breaks down the foundations of what we do as a business. And I really, really hope that this guys helps you and you guys have a restart for your business on the right foot. Let's get into it. So this is module 0. This is the welcome foundation course. Kind of introducing you guys what we're going to be talking about. So this is for mostly beginners. If you're an operator and already experienced, this is going to be a great refresher and you might learn a thing or two that you need to fix in your current business model. So I want to teach you guys what we've been working on for the last 2 years in Houston. It's mastering real estate wholesale from your first deal to getting that consistent income, right? That's what everybody wants. And I want to teach you a proven framework that every beginner to intermediate wholesaler who wants to stop spinning their wheels and start closing deals consistently, right? This free course is going to help you identify your biggest bottlenecks, how to fix it, and build a repeatable system that generates 1 to 3 deals per month. Okay, if you're already past that, amazing. I hope you learned something new, but this is to get beginners to that 1 to 3 deal mark. So who is this course for? So this is for people who haven't closed a deal yet, or if you only close one deal and you don't have consistency, or you're just not sure what's next, what's working, what not to do. I'm so freaking excited for you that this course is going to rock your socks. I promise you that. This is also for people that are intermediates who have been closing 2 to 3 plus deals and looking to scale because they're probably missing something within their business. You know that wholesaling works. You know that you can make money, but you probably just need a few systems and consistency to hit that 3 to 5 deals per month reliably, right? That's the whole goal. You don't want to close 3 deals and then not close a deal for 6 months. You want to do that every single month. You're probably overwhelmed by data, all these different data sources, all these different marketing channels. You got inconsistent lead flow. This course is going to give you the clarity and a clear path forward. I promise you. Okay. The single outcome you're going to achieve. So your graduation goal after you finish this whole course is you're going to close your first 1 to 3 deals consistently by using one primary marketing channel, right? We're not going to be talking about expensive inbound marketing. We're not going to tell you to use the cheat code that everyone online is telling you. I'm going to teach you how to use 1 to 2 marketing channels and use hard work and systems to actually get you what you're looking for. This course isn't about learning 47 different strategies. It's about mastering the fundamentals that helps you generate your deals. When you graduate from this free course, you'll have a working system that brings in motivated sellers consistently. You just have to do the work. Okay. You'll know exactly which marketing channel works best for you, how to manage your leads efficiently, and how to convert conversations into contracts. The most importantly, though, you're going to have the confidence. Okay. You need the confidence and you need the momentum to actually scale your business or wherever you are. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the 4 pillars of wholesaling success, and you'll see in the modules, that's how it's built out. So the first one, we're going to be talking about niche data, which is pillar 1. This is how the foundation's built. Okay. With bad data, you're going to get bad results. So we want to build your wholesale business off the right foundations. And that's what we're going to talk about on niche data. We're not going to be talking about how you can use PropStream, batch leads, a $99 software that hundreds of others are using. Pillar 2, marketing and lead flow, right? Once you get the data, how do you market it? How do you get sellers on the phone? We're going to talk about how you're going to build your lead generation channels, how to create consistent daily outputs to keep you accountable, to keep you going, and ultimately how to keep your pipeline filled with motivated sellers that want to actually sell their property. Pillar 3, now that you're generating conversations, how do you manage your leads and how do you actually go through a sales process to convince them that you're the right person to sell to, right? We're going to talk about how to convert those conversations into contracts, how to track all those leads within the system, and then ultimately how to master the discovery process to get every seller to say yes to your contract. Okay. Last but not least, pillar 4 is a little more advanced, but this is the systems, the right metrics to track, which is KPIs, and then also how to find consistency in your business, right? We're going to teach you what to track, what the right things to track are, how to make data-driven decisions within your business, and how to build a 90-day focus that eliminates the shiny object syndrome that kills almost every wholesaler in the industry. What we're going to do here, I want you to look at what is your actual bottleneck, right? And I want you to identify which is your biggest bottleneck, okay? So you are in distressed data if you have access to real estate distressed data, not generic bulk data, okay? Your data includes contact information and specific distress indicators, or you regularly update and clean my list, right, with fresh records. So if you're not doing these 3 things, distressed data, foundation 1 is probably what's hurting you the most. Number 2, do you consistently execute one primary marketing channel, or using 5 or 6 and not mastering any, right? Your phone rings or inbox fills with seller inquiries every day, right? You have a 7-day follow-up sequence for brand new leads. If you are not having any of these 3 things, this pillar is probably affecting you in a bad way, okay? Number 3, are every lead tracking your CRM, right? Do you have a clear pipeline within your CRM? Do you have scripts on frameworks and discovery processes and offer calls? Are you following up quickly? And are you booking next steps or next phone calls on every call, right? If you're not doing that, your lead management and sales process is probably lacking, right? And last but not least, again, the systems and consistency. Are you tracking your KPIs and your conversion rates? Do you know it by heart? Can you calculate an MAO quickly and present offers confidently, right? Have you committed to one market and one marketing channel for 90 days? And if you're not doing that, then systems and consistency is probably what's hurting you. Most beginners, right, real quick, probably have issues with their data or they have issues with their marketing, okay? Sometimes they're just calling bad data or they're doing too many things like spending thousands of dollars on PPL without a sales process and they're ultimately not still generating leads, right? So most beginners probably range between pillar 1 and 2. Intermediates always range between pillar 3 and 4. So they're getting leads, they're marketing, they just can't close the deal, or they just don't have systems. Like they're doing everything manually, they're not tracking anything, and they can't make any business decisions because they're not truly tracking anything. Everything is done by feel, okay? So what you want to do is you want to add up the score of each pillar, and you want to focus on what your lowest pillar was. So your lowest scoring pillar is going to be your biggest primary bottleneck. And what I want you to do is I want you to start that module first if you want, and then you're going to work through the others afterwards because you obviously need to fix the biggest problem in your business right now. And when you fix those biggest problems, that's going to increase your revenue tremendously. What I want you to do is at the very bottom of this video, there's a school module 0 accountability post. What I want you to do is I want you to post your bottleneck and what your 30-day goal is in this school community. And I want to see it because we're going to comment on it. We're going to give you some love and we're going to make sure that you ride this momentum. But I'm super excited for you guys to go through this course. This is going to actually crush for you guys. And I'll see you guys on the introductory module 1. Welcome to module 1, where we're talking about pillar 1 specifically, which is niche foundation data. So welcome to distressed data that responds. So stop competing with every other wholesaler on the same overworked list. Right? Learn to source real distressed property that sellers actually respond to and how to do it without breaking your piggy bank. Why bulk data lists fail? So everyone knows the most famous data providers are only $99 a month. That is your PropStream, that is your batch leads. You have companies like DataFlick that is way more expensive. So there's tiers to everything that you do. So DataFlick is a company that you can pay $2,000 a month and they'll give you 30,000 plus records a month. And that's equivalent to bulk data, right? Because you can't possibly call that list yourself. You either need a call center, which costs $1,000 to $2,000 a month, or you can hire your own VAs. That obviously costs you money and you need to train them as well. So for us, we went through the whole gambit of doing all these different things. But the problem with these lists, right, is if you buy the same bulk list as 200 other investors, which you know that's happening in your market, you're competing for attention with everybody else, right? These sellers are getting bombarded by text messages, automations, cold callers, multiple investors showing up at their door. They're probably getting postcards as well. So what's the result? You have super low response rates. You have sellers that tell you like, man, you're the 50th dude that's called me today. How many have experienced that? And then your response rates drop below 1% because people are just ignoring the phones. They're ignoring your text messages because they're so desensitized to how many people are reaching out to them. And that's the problem. Like when I first bought my first property, I was getting bombarded by 4 or 5 people a week trying to buy one of my properties. And it's absolutely crazy. Okay. So what does real distress look like? We talked about this in module 0, but this is what it really looks like, right? It's real sellers that have immediate pressing reasons to sell below market. So not the normal person will not agree to sell their property 50% of value, right? That just makes no sense. But why would they accept an offer from somebody like us? It's because they're in a bad situation and your offer or method is the best route for them. Okay. So it could range between, them owing 30 grand of arrears, which is missed mortgage payments. Maybe they had someone unfortunately pass away and they don't know what the probate process is. Maybe they just owe a lot of money in taxes, right? Maybe they have, in Louisville, Kentucky, where I first started, code violation was a big deal, right? Where the city is actually tacking liens on their property because they're not fixing problems or repairing what the city is asking them to. And unfortunately, some people can't afford that and pay the city off. So maybe they're considering selling if you can help them solve their problem, right? So basically, the difference between this and bulk data is if you have a 9 to 5 job, which I know most of you guys do, that's how I started, is when you're calling, 100 people, you can do that yourself, number one, versus calling 10,000 phone numbers. Number two is when you actually get someone on the phone, there is no, let me think about it in 6 months. Let me think about it in a year, or, call me back in a couple months. If they're in a foreclosure, majority of the time, they have to make a decision sooner rather than later. So then you just need the sales process once you get the marketing down and you get them on the phone to convince them that they need to sell. So that's why we focus on this super low cost marketing that it's very targeted to niche distressed data. So there's 2 paths to get distressed data, and I'll show you both today. Okay. There is the left side, which is the free, which is high effort. So like anything else in life, you can do everything quicker if you spend money, right? So as I first started this investment journey, remember this is for beginners and intermediates, I did everything for free as well. So I used to pull all this county record data myself, and I'll show you how I do it in Houston, Texas, and it's absolutely for free. So Houston, Texas is one of the best markets in terms of county courthouse records because of how public their county records are. It varies between county to county. Okay. So some counties are easier, some counties are harder. So this is best for the beginners because it is more time intensive and you save money, right? You're going to visit your county courthouse or your clerk's office and you're going to manually pull records. It takes about 4 to 8 hours a week alone if you have a big county like I do, right? It costs nothing except for your time. So you can access pre-foreclosures in most states. You can pull probate case records weekly. The only problem with that is a lot of probates don't actually have a property associated to. So let's say I passed away, there would be property to my name. Most people who pass away may not have property. So you have to go through and actually verify that. Okay. You can review code violations. So in Kentucky, this is all public knowledge of who's getting fined for code violations. And you can also check tax delinquencies. So like I know West Virginia and other places do it annually where they give you a whole list of all the properties that are tax delinquent for the year. Now, the only reality check is this, right? This is extremely tedious work, right? But it builds your skills and it gets the data that nobody else is touching, right? This is better than driving for dollars if you're doing that, right? Because this is actually being put into a system. You can actually pull this data and then skip trace, which we'll talk about today. And many wholesalers started here, okay? Many wholesalers even have $1 million a year businesses running this one model. So I'm going to show you guys how to actually pull county records in my home record of Houston. That's where I do my business, and I'll show you how to do this for free. All right, now we're actually going to show you how to pull county courthouse records in my market, Harris County, Texas, which is Houston, right? So obviously this is Google. We take you to Google. You got to find out what your county's called in your city. So if you're in Houston, it's going to be Harris County. So you're going to type in Harris County, Texas, county records. You're just going to Google it, right? And you can see that I'm always in here. But real property records, you can click here. Takes you to this like crazy dashboard here, but I'm going to show you a very basic thing for pre-foreclosures. So you're going to click on home, and bear with me, this is live, okay? So you're going to see Harris County, you have mayor's licenses, you have probate, county civil. So anybody that's gotten arrested, got in trouble, you can see that. Some people are kind of crazy. They'll pull lists from people who went to jail, and they'll skip trace them and try to find out who is, looking to sell, right? So there's a lot of different things you can do. Real property search, you can look up code violations, lease pendants, etc. If you go here, you can literally see there's foreclosures, okay? So you can click on foreclosures, and you're going to see a date here. And I usually like to do sale date just because you get to see what's going on. So right now, it's in February. So let's look at any April 2026 sale dates. So you're going to search. And remember, these are all foreclosure records, okay? So you know that there's a property associated to one of these things, right? I can't post this on YouTube, or I would, because I would actually get flagged for showing real people's information. So that's why we have this in school. So as you look, these are all homes that are auctioning off in April, right? And if you guys aren't in the Texas market, what Houston likes to do, I'm not sure about the other markets, but Houston does all the pre-foreclosures on the first Tuesday of every month. So you know that April 7th is when all the foreclosures are going to happen. So you can see here alone, there's 264 documents in just April alone, okay? Let's look at if they have stuff in May. So let's look in May. There's 11 records in May. So I would actually, for me personally, if I want to get ahead of the ball before there's a super close auction date, maybe we'll look at May. So let's look at this document here. So there's 2 pages on this document. Let's click on it. And then you can see here, okay, so we have a document that we opened up here. So you can see the address of this property here, 15647 Countless Wells Drive in Humboldt, Texas, which is a really good market for us. You can see that they bought the property in 2022, or that's when they got their mortgage. So to me, instantly right here, this is probably a low equity deal because they bought this house 3 years ago. So a cash offer probably wouldn't work here, but I can do a realtor referral, list it on the market, or maybe a creative deal where I do a subject to. So that just kind of tells me from experience that this property doesn't have equity. So the sale is going to be May 5th. It's going to be at the county courthouse here, at the commissioner's office. And they're going to do a sale here, right? So you can see here that the deed of trust executed by this lady here, Miss Maxine, she borrowed $408,000 in July 29th, 2022. So this is the lender here, Planet Home Lending LLC. Sounds like a private company here. And this is their address. And then also it kind of just shows you like what's going on, right? So this is a quick snapshot of one property here of who actually owns it. And I'm going to show you how to verify who owns it and all that stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to figure out or how to validate who an owner is of this property, okay? So you can see the address here, and I'm going to go to PropWire, which is a completely free website. You don't have to pay for it. You don't need to skip trace or anything like that. And we're going to log in here to PropStream, or PropWire, I mean, okay? So let's type in the address here. So 15647. And then it is Countess Well. And you see it right here, Humboldt, Texas. We're going to click on this bad boy here. We're going to click on owner. And then you can see the name is confirmed of Maxine Elaine Alabi, right? So if you go back to the document here, you can tell that she is the one that actually purchased the property. So the deed of trust was executed by Maxine Elaine Alabi. So this confirms that this is the real owner and that this foreclosure is being filed against her. Okay. So what can you do to skip trace this? So you can go to True People Search. This is a free way to look people up, and you can actually skip trace them by the person. And I think this is going to be easier because she has a very unique name. So you can actually skip trace them like this. And then we're going to put Houston, Texas, and we're going to skip trace her. Okay, this is free. It's a little slow. It's a little annoying, but you can actually get the information from them. So she used to live in Houston, Texas. Let's view her data here, right? And then so you can see what her current address is here, and then any known phone number. So this is her last reported phone number. So in reality, what you can do is you can text that seller or you can cold call that seller, right? So this is the process, a really quick example of how to actually find the records on this, how to find the seller. Now there is a really cool service too. So if you are a real estate agent, a licensed realtor or a friend of a licensed realtor, Forewarn is completely for free for you. And it's like a background search software to kind of help realtors be protected, right? So this is one of the best skip tracing services there is for realtors. So if you're not a realtor and you know some friends, make sure, ask them if you can use their Forewarn account. It's absolutely incredible. So what we usually like to do is we used to run foreclosures and probates into Forewarn. And then if we can't find them, there's a paid system called smartskip.io, and it's absolutely filthy, right? So if you log in here, so we're going to log in here to smartskip.io and kind of show you what type of power this is. So I skip trace myself here. As you can see here, it shows all possible addresses, shows my phone number as well, shows my parents, shows my neighbors in the area. It's absolutely crazy. Now, this is a pretty expensive skip tracing service. It's about $1 per skip, or you can pay $60 a month for 15 cents a skip. But we use this when we can't find the actual homeowner. It's absolutely crazy. And we don't have an affiliate partnership. This is just a software that we personally use. So combination of True People Search for free. Forewarn is free if you're a realtor or have a realtor friend. And then smartskip.io is probably the best paid skip tracing service that we use. It's absolutely filthy. But as you can see, this process can take a while. So you're either going to train a VA to do this, you're going to hire a virtual assistant, maybe AI if you're one of those fancy guys or girls that know how to do that. But you have to screen each file, find out who the owner is, and then skip trace that owner to find their phone number. Now, I will guarantee you that the people that are having foreclosures in May, if you do this work yourself, you will probably get way more leads and opportunities, right? So that's just an example of how powerful this truly could be by just looking up a county record for free, skip tracing that record, and then cold calling that person before everyone else gets that data. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're checking this daily, checking this weekly, however like often you want to do it. And what I usually like to do is track which file number this is, right? So 2600225. I'll mark this when I check this list again. I already know that this data has already been taken care of. Okay. Okay. Now you know how much manual labor it takes to do it yourself. Now we're going to explain what it looks like to pay for it, which is low effort. Everything's done for you. This is what operators are doing, like myself, do, because obviously we don't have the time to do 48 hours of work per week. We just pay for it, right? And then we just focus on our sales and acquisitions and disposing the deal and running the actual business, right? So this is for intermediates who want to scale faster, because you can't scale faster if you're doing everything yourself. So what we do is we subscribe to specialized data providers who do everything for you. They clean the records for you, like all the probates, the foreclosures, and all that stuff. They give you the phone numbers, the emails, the mailing address of the last known person. If it's a probate, they can actually pull who the representative is. So that's a decision maker on the deceased property. And this costs around $500 to $700 a month, but it saves you 15 hours a week, and it's really, really good data. So you're trading away time for convenience, right? And that's what operators have to think about when they are trying to scale their business. So what this company is, we use a company called the Data Syndicate, and it's fresh data that's delivered every single day. It's filtered by specific distress type. So it tells you if it's foreclosure, it tells you it's a probate. And then also it is super integratable to a CRM, which will show you how easy it is to use. And I'll show you how the data looks like. So this is our website to show that we actually use the data that we're talking about. So we go to My Downloads. It's called the Data Syndicate here. We go to My Downloads here, and it shows you all of the data that we're actively using. So we just got a list. Actually, let's go all the way down. So we've been using their data for a while. Okay, so we just got a list yesterday, right? So February 14th, we're going to click download here. Okay, so this is the list of data that I received 2 days ago on February 13th. Well, this is actually recorded on the 13th. So these are all the leads that got recorded to the Harris County Courthouse on the 13th. And then I got it the next day on the 14th. So as you can see here, we received, I'm sorry, technical difficulties here. We received 40 new leads. It has their property owner's name. It shows if it's a probate or not, right? So this is owner to C. So these are all probate leads. It shows the property address we're dealing with. It shows a known mailing address for somebody. And then it also shows fully skip trace data in terms of emails. It gives us the phone numbers and also it tells us the auction date. So as you can see here, there is April 7th foreclosure dates and also May 5th, right? So we looked at a couple of those foreclosure data lists. And let's see if we actually have these people. So these are new leads that I haven't seen yet. So these are 2 new houses that came out. Probably super fresh data from the courthouse here. Okay. So you can see how powerful this is. This also shows lease pendants. So if you guys don't know what lease pendants are, those are pending lawsuits. So usually when someone doesn't pay the bill on something, usually there's a lease pendants or a pending lawsuit posted on them. So quiet title actions of foreclosure, lease pendants, law enforcement or lien enforcement. So this is like anyone that's like trying to claim a bill. So this could be a contracting one. This could be a city lien that the city's trying to collect money on, right? It shows you what type of lease pendants it is. And then obviously if it's a probate deal, it shows who the actual representative is and has their information on there so you can reach out to them. Okay. Because you obviously don't want to reach out to a person who passed away. And this shows all the different things. So if there's a code violation, it actually shows you what type of code violation is. And then depending on what county you have, so I know I have students and members and friends that use this data as well. If they have any liens or code violations, some counties actually give you the actual dollar amount that the person owes. So if you're an optimizing business operator, I'm only going to focus on the lien amounts that are 30, 40 grand or something like that. And I'm not going to focus on the people that only owe like $800 or $1,000 because that is kind of a waste of time for me, in my opinion, because most of them are probably just going to pay off their bill and keep the house, right? So that is why this data is so sweet, is that you get it every single day. You can see how much information you get. Obviously, you can see all the data. I'm not hiding anything, that you can actually reach out to these people. So what we do is we take this data and we actually put it into a CRM that automates everything. So we have our cold text messaging go off. We have cold email that go off. We use all this data. And then we also have cold callers on my team that literally markets all these leads. So you can see how powerful this is. This takes us 10, 15 minutes a day to just take the data from the website, put it into our CRM, which I'll show you later in the course, and how sweet this freaking is. All right, let's hit the next slide here. Cool. So pillar 1, this is your project, right? You're going to build your first real list here. So you're going to pick your county. You're going to pick your select distress type. So I recommend doing foreclosure because it's the easiest to obtain, quickest decision-making time. Now, it does take the most skill to negotiate a foreclosure, but it's super, super easy, right? If you call someone, they have to make a decision. These are the people that actually most beginner wholesalers actually door knock, right? So we don't teach door knocking because I think it's inefficient of time, but these are the people that need to make a decision now, right? Your homework is to pull 200 to 500 records. I know this sounds like a lot, but this will be enough for your first 90 days, right? You're going to pull 200 to 500 records. You're then going to skip trace each record. You're going to use a combination of the free or paid, depending on where you are. If you're pulling 200 records and you use Smart Skip, that's $200. I wouldn't recommend that. I would use Forewarn first or True People Search. And then you use Smart Skip for the ones that have bad data. So If you skip trace someone, phone numbers don't work, then smart skip them. You can call relatives, you can call neighbors, you can be very aggressive, right? This is what operators do at the next level, is that they are trying to find or they're trying to contact the seller as many ways as possible. Okay. So I would focus, we'll talk about in the marketing, but then we're going to market to them. But you can cold call them, you can text them, whatever the case may be. And then you're going to load them to a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, put it on an Excel sheet, right? You can put all of that data into an Excel document. Now, I recommend doing a CRM because it automates a lot of your stuff. And we'll talk about that in the next video. So your action checklist is exactly what we just talked about. I don't have to repeat myself in terms of what you need to do. But here's a quick action checklist. I'll have this included at the bottom of the video as well, so you can quickly look at it and reference it. Pro tip, you start with the distress site that has the shortest timeline to auction or deadline, right? So these sellers have the most urgency and have to respond the quickest to your outreach. And that is why I talked about foreclosures earlier. So just like the last module here, we'll have a homework accountability post right down below this video. Talk about what lead type you're pulling, what market you are, and then if you have a CRM or not, okay? So post your information down there. If you have any problems trying to pull records from your county, maybe my team and I can actually take a look at it and see how difficult it is. We want to keep you guys accountable, so want to see you guys down the post. See you guys at module 2. Okay, welcome to module 2, right? The marketing and lead flow module. So you guys have the data. Now it's time to build a lead machine that fills your pipeline with motivated sellers every single day, right? So you got the data. Now you got to use the tools that you have to be able to market to those sellers and get them on the phone. So let's get into it today. Okay, we're going to do a couple of different cool things today. So we're going to do a very high level marketing overview of how much each marketing channel costs. And then we'll do a little deeper dive in terms of what to track and how to best track it. And then I'll actually show you how to set up a power dialer within your CRM if you do plan to use a dialer. Okay. So let's talk about this slide here. So the marketing channel, each channel will always have a trade-off. So no marketing channel is the best. However, I will like to say that cold calling is still pound for pound the best way to reach homeowners and sellers. Right. So I think for our business, we range between 36 to 45% of our deals every single month, strictly through cold calling. I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering, oh my gosh, I don't have the time to do it. We'll kind of go through all the different ways that you can kind of grow in this business, right? So cold calling. So the pros is instant feedback, right? It is the fastest way to a conversation and it's cheap per contact, right? So what do I mean by that? So fastest feedback. So basically, if you call somebody, you can literally talk to them as soon as they pick up, right? There is no text message, there's no email, there's no ad, there's nothing in front of you and the seller. It's you reach them, they pick up, you can have a conversation. Now, everyone knows the cons to cold calling. It's super rejection heavy, right? Tons of people are going to say no, F off, they're going to curse you out. And it requires super thick skin. And it is also only scalable to how much time that you can put into actually cold calling. And what do I mean by that? So if you are doing 2 hours a day of cold calling, and that's the only thing that you can do, that's as many dials as you can produce, right? So it's limited to how much time you can put in. Now, it is the cheapest cost per contact. So basically, if you're cold calling 200 to 500 leads that you've pulled from the last module, it's super, super cheap because you can literally use your cell phone and you can literally just dial everything manually. Now, that takes forever, which is kind of goes into the costs here, right? So the cost says that it's $50 to $150 a month for the dialer. And it really depends on which type of dialer you're going to buy, how much money they cost. So every dialer costs a little different. And then some dialers are a little more advanced, like ready mode. And we'll kind of go through each dialer as well later in this module. So next marketing channel, SMS. Pros here, super high open rates, right? Like unless you're going to spam. So basically you can send tens of thousands of text messages in reality, and it's going to cost you like $500 a month. But that is like, imagine reaching 10,000 sellers in like a matter of a month and spending $500. So when you do the math on that, it's super, super cheap, right? So super fast, super scalable because of the cost. Now, the cons, TCPA violation laws and telemarketing laws, if you're in Texas specifically, there's a lot of compliance risk, right? There's a lot of risk to sending text messages. Cold calling is risky too, but text messaging is way worse. Also, these can burn out your lists tremendously. So if you only have 500 people on your list and you send, you know, 2-3 text messages per person, they can get mad and like burn you out, right? Or if you're following the ATP TCPA violation laws, you have to be able to give them an opt-out. So they'll say stop, they'll text you back stop, and then you can't text them anymore. Now you can still technically call them, but you can piss off your leads pretty quick by sending them 1,000 text messages, right? What we like to say in our business, we do what we're willing to risk, and we still heavily market. For us, SMS marketing with AI, so we pair up with AI, and it absolutely crushes for us. Like I just posted a training earlier today. You'll see it in the school community where I did a YouTube video where I called a live seller. It was a foreclosure lead, and it's going to be a great, great deal. And she actually responded through a text message campaign we sent out, and then the AI booked a call for us. So having AI qualify and booking appointments for your closers or for yourself, it's absolutely game changing. Okay. So next marketing channel would be the cold emails. I am a huge, huge fan of cold email. A lot of people in the wholesale industry are starting to adopt cold email if you understand marketing it as a bigger level. And the reason why I say email is so effective, right, is all of your favorite companies that you buy products from, right? Nike, eBay, whatever website or company you're using, they all do cold marketing emails, right? So that's how they market to you. So if the biggest companies in the country or in the world are using emails, why aren't you using emails? It's also the cheapest channel across the platform. So you can literally pay for a email software built for cold email called instantly.ai. That's what we personally use in our business. It literally costs $100 a month, and you can send up to 10,000 emails a month. How insane is that? Okay. So you have the highest return on investment if you close a deal with cold email. Okay. It builds trust. It can be fully automated, just like text messaging, which is awesome. Now, the cons, there's super slow response rates. It requires multiple day-long sequences usually. And also they have to be well crafted, right? You have to have a copywriting background. So that's, but with AI and stuff, you can make that a little better. And then also with emails, Gmail, Yahoo, Microsoft, all the big vendors, just like on the cell phone side with Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, they are adding spam filters to your email. So you have to be careful of compliance in terms of how do I word this email correctly so it doesn't get flagged for spam? How do I use multiple emails in my repertoire to send dozens of emails and not hit spam, right? So a lot of you guys are probably thinking, well, I tried cold email and it's not working. I'm not getting any responses. 9 out of 10 times, you're probably sending 1,000 emails from one Google Gmail account. Okay, I'll give you an example of how many emails we own. So we own about 30 emails, separate email accounts with multiple domains, and we market to Houston, Texas. So you need to have a multiple amount of inboxes. And because we're not sending thousands of emails with one, we're sending 10 a day, 20 a day between all of our mailboxes. Okay. Super, super cheap though. Next, we're starting to go into a little more expensive marketing. Okay. So direct mail. Direct mail historically is the best marketing channel for bigger companies. So if you can afford this, direct mail absolutely crushes. Okay. The problem is if you guys are in the beginner to intermediate category, which is what most of you guys are watching right now, is that you guys can't afford sustaining a direct mail campaign. So on average, most people are probably spending at least 8 to 15 grand a month, at scale. And then as you get bigger and bigger, you can send more and more and more letters, right? So cost is the huge, huge, huge con here, right? It's a super slow feedback loop. So usually on average, it takes about 4 mail pieces to actually get someone to call you back. Okay. And it's also super hard to track if you're not experienced or if you don't have a CRM. So you need a CRM to like properly track this. And we talk about this more in our advanced training. So What is the pro about direct mail? It's something tangible. They actually get a letter, right? And it's bonus points if you use handwritten envelopes because it feels more personable, right? And it's also super good for older sellers, which is most of the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So imagine that you're sending 500 mailers for that campaign you're doing, and each mailer is probably about $1.25 if you use a professional company to do it. So you got to do the math. So 1.25 times 500 mailers, and then on average, you're sending 4 pieces of mail to each seller. Okay, so that's the amount of math that you need to be able to reach all those sellers and effectively get a deal or two. Okay, now inbound marketing. This is a very interesting topic. So a lot of you guys or have been struggling in these 4 categories, right? You're not generating business, you're not generating leads, you're not generating contracts that ultimately get you paid. So then you watch a Facebook ad or you watch an Instagram ad and someone's telling you to run inbound marketing. It is the cheat code to actually getting consistent in your business. But how many of you guys have spent $10,000, $6,000, right, on these type of marketing channels and still lack that consistency? Probably a ton of you guys, right? I was one of them. So for inbound marketing, if you're using pay-per-click, which is Google Ads, the best and highest revenue generating businesses are running the combination of PPC and they're running a combination of direct mail. But it comes to the same thing with direct mail that you need to spend a ton of money to remain relevant in this industry, right? Because if you're marketing in Houston, I think we were spending, 10 to 13K a month, and we were getting outspent by the biggest companies. I think the biggest company was spending about 22 to 30K a month in just ads alone. So it's a very, very expensive business model. It's very advanced. You need really good closers because as those leads come into your system, those closers have to be able to perform or else your business will go under, right? You'll hear me talk about cash conversion cycle as we move on to the more advanced modules, right? How to spend your money efficiently, right? How to make these marketing channels produce income quick enough to be able to replenish how much money you spend. So Facebook ads, right? Obviously that's running ads through Facebook. That's your meta campaigns. Usually this is cheaper than PPC, but these are less motivated sellers, okay? PPL, which is pay per lead. My gosh, if you ever watch any of my training, PPL is not what I recommend, right? Usually these companies are buying leads from someone else and they're repackaging those leads to a wholesaler or investor for like 400 times the price. So I know a company, I won't name any names, but they actually buy leads for like $2 a lead and they actually sell it to an investor for like $300 to $400 a lead, which is absolutely insane. And the lead quality has been dropping tremendously. See? So pros to inbound, obviously it's legal protection. You're not telemarketing to them. They're actually watching an ad and filling out a survey telling you that you're able to call them, right? So it's the most compliant, which is why a lot of the gurus are telling you how to do this. But the cons is it's super expensive, super long learning curve, and then also destroys your budget. So if you only have a few $1,000s in your name, do not run this model. Okay, do not be enticed by someone telling you to run the model. I think it's still a very effective model to run inbound, but it's just not for the people that are watching this today. So at a minimum, you need to have at least $1,500 to $3,000 a month for at least 90 days. Okay, so you need a runway. Cool. I know that was a lot, but we're going to keep going. Cool. So here's the recommendation that I have. And the recommendation is to have one primary channel and one support channel. Okay, you want to have a combination of at least 1 to 2 marketing channels, and then you can focus solely on those 2 and get super, super experienced and optimized with those marketing channels. I don't want you to try 6, 7 different ones in the first 90 days. I want you to focus on a few. Okay, you want to get the reps down. So your primary channel is going to be cold call. Okay, cold calling gives you the fastest path and real-time feedback on your market. Okay, you'll learn objection handling, test your offers quickly, and then build confidence on the phone. So cold calling absolutely can be super rough. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to tell you that it's the easiest thing in the world, but for cold calling builds skills, and those skills translate to other different things. So for instance, if you ever want to leave your business and you first start hiring people, 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to be able to afford a sales director. Okay, you're going to have to be able to train those acquisition and lead managers that you hire. And then how are you going to teach them if you've never really done it or understood it? Most of the coolest and biggest operators that I know have started off doing it themselves. Like that's what I did after work. I would come home, high five my wife, and start cold calling. Okay. I want to give you a daily output goal. So this is the goal that you should strive for every single day to keep yourself accountable, 100 to $150 a day. Okay. This is going to be very hard without a dialer. Like you're going to be calling for hours. Okay. If you have a dialer, you can get 100 to 150 dials every single day. This will take you 1 to 2 hours to get those dials in. Okay. What you want to do is you want to have at least 3 to 5 conversations that go over 1 minute, and then 1 or 2 qualified leads per week. So every week you should have 1 to 2 leads that actually want to say yes, and you have an actual discovery, right? Or a process call. That is where you actually find the motivation, the time, all that stuff. And we talk about that in the sales closer framework module in this free course. So if you follow this every single day and you follow this for the entire month, at this pace, you'll have at least 12 to 20 meaningful conversations per month, right? That is more than enough volume to close at least 1 to 2 deals if you execute the rest of the process that we talk about this week with you in this free course correctly. Okay. So these are your KPIs. These are the basics that you need to understand. Now let's talk about your support channel. So your support channel can be SMS or emails, right? So SMS is super good if you have the AI and all that stuff, because what we do with SMS is we automate everything through our CRM. So there's pipelines, there's automations, copy that we've personally written and tested, and then the AI takes over, books a call on my acquisition calendar, right? So for me, very hands off, where my operations director looks over the CRM to make sure that the AI is not going crazy. Okay. We just fill the calendar with SMS appointments like the lead that I took today. But for you guys, since it's super low cost and you may be worried about violating, any laws, I recommend the emails. So for emails, this can serve as your automated follow-up engine. When you talk to a seller who isn't ready, put them in a 7-day email sequence. Okay. It builds trust and it keeps you on top of mind, and you're not abusing the person's cell phone. Okay. The last thing you want to do is keep following up with somebody on their phone and you text them 100 times and they stop responding to you, right? Also, at the end of the call, you want to get their email and you want to say, hey, I can send you a company credibility packet, right? That packet down the road, when you guys start developing all these different resources for your sellers, is it builds even more credibility by the next time you talk to them on the phone. Okay. So your daily output, you obviously want to put all the leads that you called into an email sequence, and you're going to track your open rates, your click rates every single week, right? Click rates is if you use a book call link, or maybe you send them to a YouTube channel to watch like a resource video of like the difference between listing with a realtor or selling it to an investor, right? There's tons of videos you can use, but the most importantly for us, like I don't have it on the slide, is actually the response rate. So someone actually responding to you, right? So how do we get responses? We use a lead magnet, a free resource, okay, that we have actually in the free school for you that I will link in the bottom of this video here, of a foreclosure lead magnet that we actually offer to sellers. And we say, hey, respond if you want the guide, and then let us know if you want us to talk to you about it for 10 minutes, right? To go over that document with you. And to be honest, like as soon as they respond, we'll send it and then we'll have someone call, right? But for us, we actually have an AI dialer that actually calls that seller immediately to try to qualify that seller. And you can do that all with AI within a CRM. And we'll talk about the CRM specifically in our later modules, okay? Your email ultimately handles the not now leads while you focus your efforts on calling. So all of your efforts, right? What we want to teach you is we want you to automate all the other marketing channels like SMS, email, stuff like that, so you can focus on the pound for pound best lead producing marketing channel, which is cold calling, right? If you are dealing with the SMS, if you're dealing with the emails, you're going to feel overwhelmed and you're not going to want to call the seller, right? So you want to make sure that you clear everything off your plate that you don't have to do to focus on the highest income producing activity. I hope that makes sense. All right. let's talk about the marketing roadmap that I actually give you as a free resource to kind of help you out, help you figure out what is the best marketing channel for you. Okay. So obviously I like this little graphic here. It's me in a new breed power suit killing off some zombies here. We're talking about door knocking, bandit science, and PPL. So I picked those three because a lot of people will tell you if you are a free wholesaler to implement door knocking, PPL, and bandit signs. I'm like, yeah, those things can definitely get you deals, but you want to do stuff that actually moves the needle the quickest, right? And door knocking is going to take the longest. Bandit signs are just they're bandit signs. And then PPL, we talked about that earlier in this module. Okay. So let's go through how to create a sustainable lead magnet and how to specifically choose the right marketing channel for you. Okay. So I like to talk about each marketing channel individually, how long it takes to get you money, right, in return. So if you spend $10, how long does it take to get you the $10 plus your profit? And now I'm going to talk about how much money it costs to actually use these different things. Okay. So your budget needed for email marketing is the cheapest that you have. You can go free 99 to $500 a month. And the reason why it's so expensive is because you're going to buy all the different softwares to make your life easier. So Google Mail Merge is free. You can literally use your Google Gmail account and send out emails. But like I said earlier, it increases your spam rate tremendously. Okay. Now, CRM. So you can use your own CRM, which I'll talk about in module 4 of this course here. We're going to talk about that you can build your own for $97 a month, or you can usually pay for someone's, which is usually $297 to $300 a month. It just kind of varies between the two, right? And then you're also going to pay the email fees for marketing, which is super, super cheap. It's like 1/100th or 1/1000th of a cent, right? So you can send hundreds and hundreds of emails and it's super cheap. The next one is you're going to use cold email software. So that's usually paired up with a CRM that you're using. And then we use a cold email software designed just for cold email, which is Instantly AI, which is about $97 a month for that software. So that's where it gets the most expensive. You're probably spending about $400 a month for the CRM, but the CRM takes care of everything else, like texting and all that stuff. And then the software itself is designed to get your emails delivered. So that's why we're happy to pay the $97 a month because it is a significant difference in how the quality of data is. Okay. Skill level, beginner to moderate. I would say that it's moderate because you need AI or you need someone on your team or yourself to actually create the emails. Okay. It's a beginner to moderate because you can actually automate all this stuff. So what we usually like to do is we combine this with cold calling. Obviously, it usually takes 2 to 3 months. When you spend your first dollar, it usually takes at least 3 months for you to actually see a deal, right? And the reason why is the cash conversion cycle. The first month you're marketing, the second month you're negotiating, getting contracts, and then number 3 is the 30 days to actually close the deal on the back end. Okay. Quality of leads, it's awesome. It's medium because it's great for nurturing your leads. Okay. We talked about all this stuff here. So in my business at the time, we were running 3 domains, 15 separate email accounts, sending 30 emails per mailbox per day. And this is in one of my markets here. The more leads you're emailing, the more domains and emails accounts you actually need, right? Because you don't want to send thousands of emails on a single one. You always want to separate as much as possible. Okay. And one more thing, you always have to warm up your emails for at least 14 days. And Instantly AI does that all for you. Okay. This is kind of some metrics of like what we were doing for our Houston pre-foreclosures, right? It shows like how we are ramping up our emails because you don't want to send, 1,000, 2,000 emails in day one. You always want to ramp it up slowly. Okay. So let's talk about text messaging now. So text messaging, kind of the same thing. It could be free if you're using your cell phone plan, or it can go up to $500 a month depending on tools and the amount of quantity that you're using. Okay. So cell phones are free. I honestly don't recommend this because this is your actual cell phone number, but you can definitely do it on Google Voice. But it's just a pain in the ass trying to do everything manually. Okay. CRM, $200 a month plus fees. And then some CRMs with AI cost about $300 a month, which is right here. If you're going to do SMS, I would just pay the extra $100 a month to have the AI and automations fully built out for you. Okay. Skill level is a beginner because it's all automated. Same thing with cold calling, right? You want to combine this with a cold calling. So I would like to say that the cash conversion cycle is around the same. Okay. Lead quality, it depends on the list of data you have. So if you're using the list and data that you're using from module 1, then you're going to be good to go because you have the best data and you have the best chances to convert a lead if you're using the best data. Okay. So obviously, disclaimer, follow the law. Don't break the law. I'm not a lawyer. So I want to tell you, do everything at your own risk, right? We still text message because it crushes, but you got to follow the law. Okay. So texting niche lists crushes. And the reason why is you're not sending 10,000 text messages a month. You're sending like 4,000 text messages and you're sending multiple touch points. And if you're using core house niche data, you can personalize your text messages. Okay. If my mic can pick this up and say, you can personalize this, super, super important, right? Make the text messages personal. Hey, your foreclosure auction day is coming up. You got 10 more days left. Do you need help? Right? You can be creative with how to personalize your text message. You can automate your text messages and let the AI handle the rest. Okay. The AI ensures you follow the golden rule of speed to lead. So no matter what marketing channel you use, if somebody texts you back, if somebody emails you back, if you're running ads, right, you want to respond to someone within 5 minutes. They like to say it's within 1 minute, but 5 minutes is like the golden rule in terms of the most band of error. If you respond to someone after 5 minutes, your response rates drop tremendously. Like it is like crazy. If you're running ads and you're not getting back to people within 5 minutes, you're just wasting money. Okay. Pro tip for text messaging, number hygiene. It's just like emails, right? You don't want to email too many people with the same email. You don't want to text a lot of people per day with the same phone number. So for the sake of beginners, 150 to 200 text messages per phone number is okay. What we do is we try to limit it to 50 text messages a day, right? The less texts you send, the more human you portray yourself to the phone carriers. So the phone carriers, just like emails, are tracking spam messages like, oh, do you want to sell your house cash? That actually gets flagged in the system and gets actually banned and gets prevented from getting sent to sellers. Okay. So also, when you're more human-like, right? Like for instance, we always drip out our emails and text messages. We don't want to send the full 1,000 text messages at the same time. We want to drip them throughout the day because that shows the phone carriers that you're a little human and you're taking time to actually message out those messages instead of just blasting everything through an automation. Okay, these are just next level tips to help you stay compliant and to keep your marketing efficient and actually streamlined. Okay. Now let's talk about the best pound for pound, right? So if we're talking about boxing, this is the best pound for pound marketing channel in terms of effort and cost, right? So this can be a little expensive. The only reason why I had it this way is because I'm also including your data if you're paying for it, and then any skip tracing services, a power dialer, and then if you have a sales rep that you have to pay. Okay, so that's why it seems so expensive. You can do this for free, but if you're going to pay for the data like we do, and then you are paying for skip tracing, and then you have a power dialer, you're probably spending about 15 to 1,000 to 1,500 a month. If you have a sales rep on an hourly base, right, that's going to obviously raise your prices, right, to $3,000 a month. That's having one full-time person for 40 hours a week. Okay. Skill levels beginner in terms of marketing, because you just literally punching the list and using a dialer and just dialing and just sitting there until someone picks up. This is the slowest but cheapest cost-effective cash conversion cycle. This is like 3 to 6 months, right? And then obviously the pro or the con is a super high upkeep, right? You always have to be on the phone, or one of your reps has to be on the phone, and then you have to subsequently train that caller while they're dialing. Okay. Lead quality, same thing as text messaging, really depend on your data. So obviously go with the county courthouse niche. Can't go wrong there. Okay. So here's the truth. Price range below assumes you're cold calling at scale. Okay. So that's what we kind of talked about before. Avoid bulk data lists or anything marketed as predictive AI. So have you guys seen ads or whatever that says that our data is predictive AI and it's cleaned, it's scraped, it's stacked, right? All these different things. These are literally the same thing as normal bulk data you get from PropStream, right? It's companies that bundle bulk data up with AI and charge you thousands of dollars per month. Like I know so many companies that charge you thousands of dollars a month for really bad data. If you like keeping your money and not letting it on fire, avoid that. Okay. You're probably wondering what is bulk data? We kind of talked about that in module 1, but I will kind of talk about it again. So massive lists that are being pulled by $99 softwares, or you pay a premium service that sends you predictive AI data scrape lists. And those are 10, 20, 30,000 records a month, which is absolutely insane. And you need a call center or VAs to actually get through it, right? They're unfiltered, they're outdated. When you call them, I'm sure some of you guys have already experienced it. They feel like you're getting called 10,000 times, right? So that's why we stick to the niche data. These are like our favorites, right? The pre-foreclosures, code violations, divorces, and probates. That's like the holy trinity for me, plus the code violations. And then we obviously get our fresh data every single day from the data syndicate, right? You can't beat that. And then I showed you in the last module, what it looked like. Direct mail, super, super expensive, super, super slow as well, but very effective when they do call you. So because these people are looking at your letters and calling you, super high intent when they do that, okay? After you get a call from somebody, if you don't pick up the first time, apparently from a study that one of my 8-figure sales friends did, he did a sales training for us, literally 1% response rate. That's freaking crazy. So if you don't pick up the phone when you do direct mail, or you have an AI agent that picks up the phone, like you're burning money away. Okay. This requires money and consistency. You always have to spend money and you always have to spend it consistently every single month or your leads die. Okay. You got to commit to volume. You got to do it for at least 100 days to get stable metrics to understand if it's actually worth it or not. If you spend $10,000 on direct mail and then you never do it again, like that is crazy because it's usually a 3 to 4 month cycle of mail getting sent out to the same seller before they feel comfortable actually calling you. So if you spend 10 grand in your first month and you stop, you're never going to get a deal from that. Okay. And you're always going to be upset that you spent all that money. Okay. PPC, same thing as direct mail, but a little more expensive. This is probably the most expensive marketing channel to do it at scale. And you must have speed to lead. So you must talk to the prospect within 1 minute or else you're burning money. Okay. My recommendation is you obviously have a CRM and you have automations to assist. So when somebody actually fills out the form, that you get an AI text message or AI caller that actually calls them and screens them. So there's different things you could do. You could use Go High Level, which we'll show you in module 4, or you can pay someone like my friend Steve Trang. That's objection proof is about $5,000 to $1,000 a month. And that's a fully trained out automated sales bot if you're running PPC. Okay. This is usually the fastest conversion too. So if you're running inbound, right, usually these people are in a high distress situation and Google ads are usually the highest intent because they're actually searching on Google, right? Like, hey, how do I sell my home fast? And these are the sponsored companies on top. Okay. So they're actually looking out for you. Super high quality, but very competitive and very expensive. Okay. I don't even have PPL on here because you know how I feel about PPL, right? But basically, this is the biggest players in the industry are using PPC. You guys may or may not be ready for it, but if you guys are going through this whole entire course with me, it is probably not recommended for you to spend this much money. I recommend doing something way cheaper, more focused, more optimized, so you can get that revenue in the door, and then you can always talk to us about scaling. Okay. Overall mindset, and then we'll kind of wrap it up back on the slides. Okay. So expect a 6-month runway. So if you're picking any marketing channel, this is what you need to consider before thinking about picking a marketing channel. You need to expect a 6-month runway. So if I pick cold calling and it costs me $500 a month, you want to multiply by 6 months. So that's $3,000 in my bank account. So I need to have $3,000, which you can use credit cards, business credit cards. You can use your own money, whatever the case may be, right? The credit card's a little more safe because there's 0% credit cards if you're starting a business. That's how we personally started with our marketing. We use business credit cards, right? You want to have that runway because you're going to have a few months of learning. You're going to have a few months of struggling, and then you're going to have deals that fall through within that 6-month period. But remember, you got to understand your math. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? So if you're doing a deal in Houston, Texas, our average deal ranges between $10,000 to $15,000. Okay. So if I am only cold calling and I spend $3,000 within a 6 month period, but then I close a $15,000 deal, I just 5x'd my money. So that's what we call a 5x ROAS. And what we strive for is at least 3% ROAS. So if I spend $1, I want to get at least $3 back when I do marketing, right? In cold calling, you want to get at least 6 times, right? That's like efficiency that shows like, because cold calling is the cheapest. So if you're doing 6 times the ROAS on that marketing channel, that is giving you the green light to spend way more to do that. Okay. That's how we properly scale. After doing tons of marketing, we want to make sure that we're making enough money. And that's telling everybody in my team, it's just, oh my God, we made 5 to 6 times the amount of money we spent on this marketing channel. That is the true green light to tell yourself to actually spend more. It's not a feeling, it's a fact, right? And that's how we track these different things. So think of marketing as an investment, okay? But you want to invest smart, just like you investing in the stock market, right? If you go and buy penny stocks, right, and you lose all your money, you can't blame anybody but yourself. And that is a bad investment. But if you're buying stocks in the S&P 500, historically that goes up, 10 to 12% per year. I don't know the exact numbers, but when we buy stocks, it's strictly the index funds. That is how you want to treat marketing. So you want to pick the best channel that's fit for you and fits your budget, right? And then all you have to do is put in the work after that. Okay. That is a good investment. To grow your business, you must spend. Okay. You cannot live and die off this free model, right? It'll get you your first couple of deals, which is why we're teaching you this. But then in order to grow bigger than that, you must have the mindset that you need to invest in your business. Okay. Start lean.
You don't need to focus on the most affordable channels that give you the highest lead volume.
And pivot based off the feedback loop you get. So if you're getting a ton of bad leads, right? You're calling data, they're all wrong numbers. What does that tell you? Okay, you need to get better data. If you're talking to a ton of interested sellers, like they're saying, like, yes, I want to sell my house. You have 20 of those conversations, you get 0 contracts. That usually means you have a bad sales process, right? So if you understand what your numbers are and what your business looks like, you can make the right decisions. Okay. If you're working with a marketing agency, these are for my advanced wholesalers, right? The PPC guys, let them run their highest converting setup and you have to monitor them. Okay. You have to understand the metrics so you can talk to the agency, right? If their cost per registration is like 50, it's like $300 per registration, that means their ads suck and you should probably fire them. Okay. Different things to kind of look at. The rest you can cover in the resources down below. I'll literally tag this resource here for you to kind of peruse through it. It is way, way, way longer. It talks about, how to scale your business, how to track your return on investment, which is your ROAS. Talks about all these different things. But I want to kind of give you a brief overview of how you should decide to actually use this. All right, now's the time in the module where we're going to walk you through a couple of different dialers that we've used personally, and then what we recommend depending on your level. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with batch dialer. So I don't know if you guys know this, but PropStream, the biggest data provider, actually bought batch dialer earlier this year. So now you have the integrated features of pulling leads, skip tracing leads, and then also you can see the property information on here. So that's pretty cool if you guys use PropStream. I personally don't do that because it's, the bulk data stuff, right? So let's talk about the pricings and plannings here. So the basic dialer is $140 a month. If you do the annual, it's about $111 a month, but obviously you pay all that up front. To be honest, this is a pretty good price. So for $140 a month is actually pretty good for a power dialer, especially a power dialer that allows you to use 3 lines. So if you guys don't know, in the real estate community, there's a single line dialer, which uses 1 phone number at a time. And then 3 triple line dialer, which is we call triple line, is you're actually calling 3 people at the same time. So in theory, you're getting through your entire list 3 times faster using the triple line dialer. And most dialers are probably around this price. It probably ranges from $100 to $150. And then it goes up to like $250 if you're using the high tech stuff with ready mode, right? So this has all the pretty cool gizmos and gadgets in the basic power dialer system here. It's got the real estate property details. It records your calls. It also routes leads through your team. Also, if you load data in here and people are on the do not call list or they're litigators, the system will actually remove them from your campaigns. Okay. This is something new as like CRMs are getting bigger and more popular nowadays, that it has all the integrations you need to actually port interested sellers into a CRM. So Match Dialer itself, which I'll show you guys more in detail today of what it looks like inside, it's not actually a real CRM, right? It doesn't have the automations, it doesn't have the AI texting, all that stuff. But this is a great starter power dollar for you. And you can actually load your leads that are interested into your CRM to get nurtured by the automations. Okay. This is really cool. It's got the whisper, it's got the barge features, which whisper is you can literally, if you have a team that's cold calling, you can actually listen to your team's calls and actually whisper advice into their ear where the seller doesn't hear it. So that's pretty sweet. The barge feature, you just barge in. So if your seller or if your acquisition manager is screwing up, you can actually barge into the phone call and take control right there on the spot. Okay. It's got basic onboarding and training. So if you guys need help learning the system, this is great. And then obviously there's the advanced dialer here for $300 a month. It gives you 60 phone numbers, which is freaking awesome. Phone numbers are about $1.50 to $2 per phone number. So you get pretty good value there. This allows you to use 5 lines per agent. So you can call 5 people at a time. We don't really recommend going above 3, honestly, in real estate, just because the more people you're calling, the higher frequency that the phone carriers will actually call you spam likely. So you'll hear spam likely in the real estate industry. That means the phone carriers like Sprint, AT&T, and Verizon are secretly marking you spam, and you won't know that that's happening. So you'll be spending hours and hours and hours cold calling, and you're going to say, why haven't I connected with anybody? It's because your phone number was deemed spam likely. So it won't tell you, it won't do anything. It'll just keep ringing and ringing and ringing, and the seller won't even get your call. So that's really bad. What's really cool is like you got the reputation management. So these newer dialers can actually predict if your phone number got hit with spam, and it will automatically replace that bad phone number with a good number. So that's freaking awesome. Okay. So you got some add-ons here. You can buy 2,500 leads a month with $50 a month because you have PropStream now. Like this is all bulk leads in my opinion. So don't really need that. And then if you're using a CRM, you don't need the AI suite CRM at all, right? Because you have way better AI with a Go high level CRM. So, but just wanted to kind of show you there's some pretty cool features here, pretty good add-ons. And then we can go into the dialer here. So this is what batch dialer actually looks like if you're in here. So I just did the trial period to kind of show you what it looks like. And it shows you how many people are actively calling, how many phones are actually ringing, and then how many of your agents are actually on the call, right? So obviously right now I'm by myself. So it's the total agent here. And then it actually shows you how often and how long your acquisition team is actually on the phone calling. So you can actually keep track of your team, which is awesome. This is why dialers are super cool. Okay. So I'm going to show you some really cool stuff here. You can actually add your campaigns in here, which is loading your leads, right? The lead list here. You can add more leads here. I kind of show you. So you can pull leads from here. Because remember, this is PropStream partnership now. So you can actually pull bulk data straight from the software. You can see everybody on your team. I'm an administrator. You can see like all the different colors to track where and when your team's at. So if they're on lunch, are they training? Are they in a meeting with us? Right? You can track all that stuff. This is where you can track all your different phone numbers. So if you paid for the $300 a month system, you would actually have 60 phone numbers in here, and it tracks the reputation, right? So if your number is spammed, it'll show right here. This is the clean numbers, any phone numbers that are flagged, how many reports you got in the last 24 hours. And then you can also buy phone numbers here. So let's take a look at the price. Oh, wait, I actually can't wait. Let's take a look. So let's look at Alaska here. Actually, let's look at Texas, because that's where my actual market is. We're probably the 361 or 832. I personally like 832 a lot. Let's see if any phone numbers pop up here. Okay, cool. So I get a free phone number here, but let's see if I want to buy two. Oh wait, I have to upgrade. So I get one free phone number in this trial, which is pretty cool. But usually these phone numbers are about $1.50 to $2 each. So if you're cold calling a ton of people, you need more phone numbers. If you're single line dialing, which is what I recommend for county courthouse records, and I'll explain that in a second, is you only need about 4 to 5 phone numbers, honestly. Okay. So the reason why that you want a single line dial county courthouse is because if you're calling 3 people at the same time, you actually have the chance of having 2 people pick up at the same time. So you're obviously going to talk to one person, and then the second person, it will just be nothing, and they'll hang up. Now, the dialers are pretty smart in terms of reprioritizing that phone number on your next batch of dials. The problem is you may never get connected to that seller ever again. So that's the risk. So if you're only calling 200 people a month, 300 people a month, you can get through all that with a single line power dialer. Okay. You can track all your reporting here, but what I want to show you guys is you want to adjust what type of leads that you're kind of managing. Okay, so what you want to do, what I want to show you guys the most is super important, right? Is how you actually want to track your leads. So what you want to do is you want to click on the phone system here, and then you're going to click on call results, and then you're going to see all the different call results you can have. Now, you can not touch this at all. That's really cool, whatever. But we actually want to track different leads here. So you want to do a new call result. So you can hit on the top right, new call result, and then you're going to type in new lead. Okay. This is a brand new lead from county records, right? This is a brand new lead that comes in. And what you want to do is there's no campaigns, there's no call results, right? So what you want to do is you want to create this one, and then you can actually add rules here. So you can add do not redial, add to DNC, right? You don't really need to do that. I wouldn't mark this as a lead yet, but I would click save. Boom. So you have this new lead here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to actually edit the disposition here, and you're going to change the color to a different color. So let's change it to like light blue or something. So you know. So boom. So now you see this new lead here, right? So every time you load data into this dialer, you want to mark your brand new data as new leads. So that shows you and your team that you have not contacted this person at all. Okay. So obviously there's these other things here, the no answer, whatever. But now you're going to add another call result here. Called. Actually, let's do another one. Let's do wrong number, because you want to track if you have wrong numbers here. Needs reskipping, right? So we want to make sure that if we're calling very little data and we call a phone number and it's the wrong number, right? Someone says, oh, this isn't me, or it's a disconnected phone number. Actually, we're going to do disconnected phone number on the side, but this is needs reskipped, because that means I need to go in and actually change or reskip the seller, right? So for obviously if it's a wrong number, we're going to put do not redial number. You don't want to add the DNC because you don't know if that lead is actually a DNC or not. But you definitely don't want to put this one as well. So do not redial contact. Don't click that, because you're going to change the phone number and then you're going to contact this person at a different time. But you want to block that certain number so you don't bother that person. Okay. So now you got the wrong number. So if you call someone, no one's answering, wrong person, you add wrong number in there, good to go. So I'm looking at the current dispositions here, and I actually don't see an interested lead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this call result one more time, and it's going to be contacted, right? Contacted, interested. So that means you've called a person and they've expressed some interest. And the call result description here is send to CRM. So this will tell you that this lead needs to get ported over to a CRM. Let's change the color here. We're going to mark this as a lead. Click save. So as you can see, when you hover over these boxes here, it actually tells you what the instructions is, right? So if you mark this box and you integrate the APIs and all that stuff to your Go High Level CRM, when you click this button here, it will automatically trigger this contact information into your CRM, and you can set it to whatever pipeline you want. And then that keeps your Go High Level super, super clean. So then you only have one system that's tracking leads that are actually interested in talking to you, right? You obviously don't want thousands and thousands and thousands of leads in your CRMs. And that's when you get overwhelmed and you can't track things. But what you do is you use something like this as a power dialer, you organize your leads, you talk to the sellers, and you get that lead into the CRM so you can send emails, you can send text messages, and then you can have the AI actually support you in this. Cool. So the next one that I want to talk about is Wave Dialer. So this is what we actually give in our CRM. So we actually have a real estate software that we give to our community as well, and we want to do this because it's super affordable, right? So Wave Dialer, single line dialer. So if you're doing 200 to 500 leads a month, this is really all you need. You need to get a $100 a month power dialer so you can see the price difference between batch dialer and this one. And this is all integrated within Go High Level. So we have automations fully built out where when you start dialing leads, it actually organizes and moves your leads for you in the system. Okay. This is really, really cool. It also has local presence. So if you're calling multiple counties as you start growing your business and you have all these different phone numbers, it actually reads what phone number you're calling and it predicts
Which one in your pool is the closest? So if you have, Tampa Bay, Houston, Texas leads,
and you have all those phone numbers. You can call a giant list of both cities in there and it will use the phone numbers that you have accordingly. This also tracks all your team reports, your KPIs. You still have the call transfer. So if one of your cold callers finds a lead and you're available, it can actually hot transfer you over. You have unlimited minutes. So a lot of marketing tools and dialers, you get charged $1 per minute or something like that, right? So with the single line dialer with Wave, you pay $99 a month, you get unlimited minutes. So you can cold call for like 1,000 hours a month and you won't get charged a single more penny or dollar. Okay. If you were doing triple line dialer, it's about 149 bucks. So I kind of showed you guys that power dialers range from like 100 bucks to like 150. This gives you up to 5, but you can actually control how many phone numbers. So if you have a lot of phone numbers, like for instance, your first initial contact, you use a single line dialer, and then you have a bunch of people that you need to follow up with, you can always turn it up to the 3 line dialer and you just mow through that list, right? Same thing with phone numbers. So if you're using single line dialer, you get one free number per user. So then you would just have to buy 3 to 4 more additional phone numbers, which is about $1.50. Okay. So super, super affordable. And this is all integrated within the Go High Level CRM. If you use one of our softwares, it's all automations already built out for you. Okay. And I'll kind of show you like how this works. So if you're looking at the opportunities, you have all these leads inside your system here, and you can actually power dial this whole list by just clicking the power dialer button, and it will go one by one by one, where you don't actually have to like hit the phone number and dial, right? There's a whole bunch of automations as well. So when you call someone, it takes you to this page here that actually shows you all the information about the seller. So you can see how many times we texted the seller. It's absolutely crazy. But when you call the seller, it actually automates a trigger, right? So if you cold call somebody with your system and they don't pick up and you tell the system they don't pick up, it will trigger an automation to actually send them a text message. Like no other CRM or no automation actually does that. So it's freaking awesome. And then this is so freaking cool, man, right? So I'm going to show you the last dialer. This is the dialer that we actually use now actively in our business, but we don't recommend this for people that are just starting out because it is so freaking complicated. Okay. This is the weirdest and most complicated dialer, but it is truly the best dialer out there in terms of performance and connectivity rate, which you guys know me. Connectivity is the most important metric when you're cold calling, but the pricing is not really affordable. So the starter is $200 a month. Then Ready Mode IQ is $250 a month, right? And Ready Mode IQ, you when numbers are getting spammed. So basically, we get an email and a text message every time one of our phone numbers actually get reported to the do not call bureau in the government. So that tells us that we need to switch numbers out. It also has super crazy features where it can actually predict when sellers are actually going to be most active on the phones, and it actually prioritizes those phone numbers for you. Now, what I recommend if you want to use ready mode, these are for people that have multiple acquisition people on their team. And the reason why is ready mode was developed for call centers. So people that have 15, 20, 30 people on the team that they can manage the whole squad and have multiple lines. I'm pretty sure this thing goes up to like 15 dialers. So if you send calls out, it's free, it's included in your package. If you receive phone calls, it's about 2 cents a minute. This is probably the cheapest marketing thing other than like Wave right now because you don't pay any money. Okay. Now, the only issue with ready mode is it is extremely complicated. Okay. So I actually have a video pinned at the very bottom in the resources tab. It's a YouTube video created by one of the influencers, and it actually goes through the entire dialer, and you'll see how freaking complicated it is. But you'll see that with complexity and if you master your tools and your software, it's actually super lethal in terms of cold calling. So hope this was helpful. This is a breakdown of dialers. So just to recap, what we're talking about here is you have batch leads or batch dialer, which is really good for people just starting out. Number two, you have ready mode, which is for super advanced folks, but has the most, software tools and gizmos and gadgets. And then you also have wave dialer if you're using Go High Level. If you're already using Go High Level, totally recommend Wave. And then obviously, like we have closed CRM that's actually built in with the Wave dialer. All right, so let's talk about your Pillar 2 project, how to build your lean machine of marketing here, right? You want to choose your channel, you want to set your targets, which we already gave you. Create your initial scripts, which we gave you as well. We'll put it down below. You want to load this bad boy into whatever system you're using, and you want to execute. Okay. This project will take you 3 to 5 days to kind of set up. And then this will be your daily routine moving forward, right? The consistency beats perfection any day of the week because you're going to learn so much as you do this. And you're going to start with imperfect scripts. You're going to start really nervous. Okay. And you're going to improve as time goes on and gets feedback from the real sellers. Okay. So here's your action checklist, same as the previous model. We're going to have this entire checklist for you in the resources down below. And what I want you to do is the accountability post down below, right? Is I want you guys to talk about and tell the group what marketing channel you're using and what is your support marketing channel, okay? And I want you to put your daily metrics in there of what you think you can achieve. And then we want to keep you guys accountable. So please post that information down below. And then we're going to talk about the sales framework in the next module in lesson number 3. Welcome back to module 3, which is lead management and sales. So you already have the foundation, the right data that we pulled from module 1, and now you understand the basic overview of marketing from the last module. Now you're going to be generating actual conversations, and now it's time to turn those conversations into contracts with proven frameworks that help sellers say yes. So let's get into the training here. So you want to have a very simple CRM pipeline, right? We don't want to overcomplicate it. As you guys grow your businesses, then you can start adding different things. But this is really all you need. You need a new lead, which is any record or any data point that goes into your database and you've never marketed to or you never spoken to, right? Then you want to have who you actually contacted, who responded, positive or negative, any follow-ups that you have after a first conversation, and then any appointments that you've already set, and then ultimately how many of those conversations that you had turned into an actual contract. You want to be able to track these different things, and because that gives you a big snapshot of how your business looks. So if you have 10 appointments set and you have 0 contracts, that could tell you that you have something wrong with your sales process. If you have thousands of leads and you have no appointments set, maybe it's telling you that your marketing or your data is wrong, right? So you can't make those decisions unless you know what's going on with your records and with your system. So speed to lead, this is a super important thing. Right here, I want to highlight speed to lead rules. The first person to have a real conversation with the motivated seller wins 75% of the time. So speed isn't everything, but it's the easiest competitive advantage that you can create for yourself and for your business. Okay. We want to execute these daily rules every single day. So these are the rules that you must follow to make yourself as much success as possible. So you want to call back your leads within 5 minutes of them responding. So maybe a text message, maybe an email, or they're calling you back. You want to follow that 5 minute rule because study shows that if you don't contact the seller within that 5 minute range, you have 100 times less likely to be able to actually convert that lead. And that is a real marketing study. So if you don't get back with your lead within 5 minutes, your chances drop by over 100%, right? 100x. And that's crazy. So most operators are trying to reach back within 1 minute, but we're normal adults with lives, with kids, with families. So we want to make sure that we follow that 5 minute golden rule. If you call somebody for the first time and they don't pick up, you're going to immediately double dial. What does that mean? You're going to call them, they're not going to pick up, and then you're going to wait 2 minutes, and then you're going to call them back again. Because how many times have you received a call from somebody that you don't know and you don't pick up? But then they call you back again immediately, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this must be really important. It's the same person that called me 2 minutes ago. Let me see what they're like calling about, right? That's why we do it. If they don't pick up, then you're going to leave a voicemail and you're going to leave a text. A very simple voicemail, very simple text message asking them about their property, if they're interested in selling, or if they're just open for a conversation. Okay. Follow up the same day. So if you can't connect in the morning, you're going to want to try to reconnect with them in the evening, right? And the first day you contact them, I want you to call them at least 2 different times in the day. You may call them in the morning the first time, they don't pick up, you double dial, leave a voicemail, leave a text message, and then call them again during the evening when they're probably off work. Okay. Whenever you're on a conversation with somebody, make sure you schedule an appointment. Okay. You always want to leave a conversation setting up for the next appointment or the next touch point, and you want to have a solid time. Don't just tell a seller that you want to talk to them in a week or a month. Make sure you pick a date and a time. And then once you confirm that appointment, go grab their email address and say, cool, can I have your email address so I can send you free resources, a company credibility packet, and a website if you have it? Because I want you to be able to read up on who we are, what we can do for you, and how we help families in the same exact situation. So you know who you're dealing with when we talk again on Friday. That builds so much credibility. It builds so much more trust. Not a lot of wholesalers are doing this. So definitely try to implement this within your business. Okay. Why this all matters? Motivated sellers are in a crisis mode. Okay. They're talking to 3 to 5 investors at the same time. How many times have you guys experienced that? And the first one who answers listens to their problems and offers a solution that actually helps their problem usually is the one that gets that contract. So your competitors are slow. Most wholesalers take hours and days to follow up. If you follow up with somebody on the day and time that you promised, you're going to build so much trust with them. Okay. The speed of your responses signals that you actually care about their individual problem and their situation, right? Sellers remember who calls back first. Who also feels like you're making their problem a priority rather than just a number in their CRM. Okay, so these are super, super important. Speed to lead and follow these daily rules every single day, and it's going to make you way more successful. So we're going to walk into the intro of the sales process, right? So we are a acquisition-based company, and we follow the closer framework. Every letter in closer means something different. This is the discovery process. So when you first find the lead that's interested in selling, these 3 letters, these 3 stages of the phone call is the most important throughout the whole entire process. If you skip these steps in this process here, you're not going to be able to do part 2, which is actually giving the offer. And I'll kind of walk through this more in detail for you so you can understand. So the first part of the process is to clarify, right? You want to clarify the whole situation here. Okay, you want to ask open-ended questions. You want to understand what's actually happening with the property and why they're actually selling. This is where you're going to get the quick timeline, the condition of the property, and any other properties involved because some sellers may have multiple houses. Okay. Step 2 is labeling. So when you talk to a seller, they're going to regurgitate a lot of different information, right? They want to downsize, they want to sell their house, they're missing mortgage payments, they got sick kids, whatever the case may be. You want to take their word soup and you want to put it into a box, and you want to be able to clearly identify and label what their problem is. If you do that, you're taking their all these thoughts and you're making it tangible for them. And the number one thing that sellers don't understand, or a lot of wholesalers don't understand, is that if you can label and identify a problem better and clearer than how the seller would do it, they're going to psychologically feel that you're the one that's most likely to solve the problem because they feel heard and they feel understood, right? A lot of people skip this stage of not being able to label what exactly the problem is. Okay. This is the part of the call where you say, it sounds like the big headache to me is XYZ. Does that sound about right? And if they confirm, you go, great. Thank you for telling me that. Then you want to ask them where they want to go. Okay. So what happens if this doesn't sell in the next 30 days? Or if I wave the magic wand and I could fix XYZ problem, what would that look like for you? Right? That is trying to get the goal situation out of them so then you can create the gap. And that's where wholesalers or salespeople in general make their most money, within the gap. The reason why people want to sell their property on a discount is not because they just want to give their house up for 50% of the value, but they're at a certain point in their life where they need help, right? They're in some sort of distress, and they want to get to that goal, that desired state. And you want to make them feel like your offer, your solution is actually going to get them from A to B the quickest and the easiest, right? You want to give them the speed and the convenience. So these parts of the call is super important for you to frame that offer call down the road. So the next one is the overview, right? So you want to understand the whole chessboard. You want to be able to pan out from the phone call, look at the entire situation as a whole. And these are the questions that actually handle the objections before you get the objections when you're actually getting ready to offer. So these are the questions where you ask, is there anybody on the deed or title that needs to feel good about this sale, right? You're going to see if there's any separate people that need to talk to, any other owners in the property. Hey, but you're just curious, be real with me. Like, have you been working with any other investors? Have you thought about listing the property? We're trying to see if they're talking to anybody, if they're working with an agent. There's so many different questions you can ask. And I'm going to show you guys the script that kind of breaks this down more in depth, and so you can understand where this is coming from. Okay. So this is our sales workshop. You get all these resources for free. We're going to put this down in the bottom of the training here, the video. But we're going to pull up the script here, and I'm going to show you that where I'm talking about. So if you're talking about the overview stage here, what have you already tried so far to sell or fix the situation, right? This is to figure out, hey, are they working through different steps? Have they done a loan modification? Have they spoken to other investors that have screwed them over, right? These are different questions. Are you talking to any agents or buyers right now, right? Let's see if they have any other options, right? There's a whole objection about alternate paths. And if they believe that they're talking to different agents or talking to different investors, they may not say yes to your offer because they may think that they have an alternate path, okay? So you want to handle that now before you offer. Besides you or anyone else, a decision maker objection, right? Numbers wise, if this worked out and you walked away happy, about how much would you like? This is trying to get the price objection. So I want you to understand that in the overview section, think of this as an objection buster part of the script. And you can literally ask line by line follow the script entirely. And they're going to tell you so much, because the way that this script is designed is by the time you get down to this place, you should have built massive rapport if you did the C and the L part of the script correctly. Okay. This script also gives you the explanation of the psychology on why we say certain things and how we say certain things. So this script will hopefully help you as you guys maneuver through your first bunch of sales calls. So the next part of the call is the offer call framework. So the next two letters is the S and E. Okay. So just like I said earlier, if you didn't do the discovery process part of the call correctly, you're going to have a lot of issues in this part. This is where you're going to get a lot of sellers' objections. This is how a lot of people get ghosted when they make an offer. It's because they didn't actually paint the picture the correct way, or you're missing a lot of information. So And the S in the sell the solution is you need to recap what you discovered in the last call, right? You're going to bring up all the pain, the headaches, and their goal scenario when you kick off that phone call. Focus on the outcome, not on the actual contract. Okay. Number E, you're going to explain the numbers and then you're going to handle any objections. Okay. This is the place where you're going to use the first bit of logic. So most of salespeople will say that you never want to use logic and you want to focus all on the emotional. I 100% agree with that, but I'll show you in the script right now what we mean by that. So as we go to the sell the solution, this is an example right here. Last time you talked, you said XYZ is your struggle, right? And you really want ABC. So in about 30 days, is that right? So I'll give you an example of that. So last time we talked, you said that you were missing a bunch of mortgage payments and you were super stressed out that so many investors have been calling you. You've been dealing with asshole investors and you just are getting overwhelmed. And you need some money in your pocket so you can move to another house, right? And you really want about $10,000 to $15,000 top of the mortgage. You want to stop the collectors from calling you. You want to stop all these people showing up at your door. And you want to do this within 30 days. Is that still right? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Right? So what we do, now you're going to sell. What we do is we buy as is. You don't do the repairs. We cover all the standard closing costs and we handle all the paperwork. So you could be done around 30 days. Does that line up with what you were hoping for? Yes, that does. Okay, awesome. So now you're going to explain the numbers. So looking at similar properties and what it'll take to fix this up and get a buyer on our end. Here's what we can do to get you out in 30 days with no repairs, no fees, and we can be at $125,800. That's cash in your pocket, and we can close in your timeline. So the reason why I say certain things and get a buyer on our end, right? So I'm telling them openly that I'm either going to wholesale this or I'm going to renovate it and flip it to another home buyer, right? I'm not the person that's actually going to end up buying this for sure, like at the end. And then we're going to recap by, hey, we're going to meet you by your speed. You don't do anything. We're giving you the convenience. And then the offer is very specific, right? $125,800. And the reason why we want to do something specific is because you actually want them to feel like you gave it the best shot. You gave it the best thought behind it. You did the analysis and you're being very particular with what your offer is. Okay. Do not use round or rounded numbers. Don't be generic, right? Be very specific. I just gave you a weird number off the top of my head, but you want to be specific. Okay. If they push back, which if it's a low cash offer, majority of the time they're going to push back. Totally fair to want more. I'd be the same way. But can I walk you through how we got to that number so you can see if it still makes sense to you? Right? You want to validate their objection, which lowers the defense. And you also want to invite them to your math, right? Transparency and trust crushes in sales. A lot of people get really sketchy with things. They don't want to tell you certain things. They've heard it from 10 other people. Let's actually invite them in and talk about the price. Okay. So based on the fixed up value of your house, which is the ARV, minus around $50,000, $60,000 of repairs, minus the closing costs we paid, minus the holding costs and all the profit our buyer needs when we sell it, that puts us right around this number. Given all that, does $125,800 still feel totally off, or is it in the realm of possible for you? Okay. You're taking the take it or leave it method and you're turning it into a partnership. You're turning it into what's in the realm of possible. What can you do to help us get this deal done? And sometimes the seller actually says yes. If the seller wants more still, you want to take away value to raise your price. So think about it as in if you're selling a service, if you're selling a product and people ask you for a discount, you don't want to lower your price, right? Because if you lower your price, you know how much work it takes to close a deal. You know how much work it takes to do all the paperwork. Like you don't want to lower your price because, if you lower the price, then you have no value in your business. So same thing with real estate. Lowering the price is equal to a higher purchase price. And everyone knows that if you offer too high, you're actually doing the seller a disservice when you ultimately can't sell the deal and then they go through foreclosure. So How we want to frame this is if you need a little bit more money, the only way we can get closer is if we push the closing date, or a different example is you handle the closing costs, or we can structure some payments, which is a creative finance deal. Okay, so let's give you an example. So if you need a little bit more, the only way that we can get closer is if we structure the payments or we push the closing date and you had to cover all the closing costs yourself. Between option 1, 2, and 3, which feels closer to what you want? So you're going to give them 3 different options and you're going to option sell them. This is a very advanced sales tactic. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but you want to give 3 different options that work for you, that gives the seller more flexibility on what to choose. And then also at the end of the day, you're asking them which one feels closer to what you want. They're going to tell you what they're looking for. So if they say, oh, I would like the higher price and structure some payments, then you could talk about creative finance, right? Or they may just say, oh, like that makes sense. I don't want to pay the closing costs. I don't want to do this. I'm willing to do option 1, which is super fast, super clean, and I want the $125,800. So you can go either way. You just got to be very flexible in this, but you're offering them a buffet and you want them to choose which path they want to take. Okay? The last step in the script here is the reassure. This is the part where everyone skips the line and they screw up the final part of the offer call. This is a big reason why people have sales regret, or they end up ghosting you because they feel like they're leaving money on the table, or they don't fully trust you, they don't fully understand. So this is where you actually reassure them and you solidify their decision. Okay? So awesome. Just so we're on the same page, you're getting a closing within 30 days. This is a guaranteed cash offer, and this is a price where we feel like this is going to be a slam dunk deal for the both of us, right? You don't have to say slam dunk, but this is the certainty that you want to give. And you don't do any of the work. We're doing the paperwork, we're doing the closing, we talk to the title company, we take all the photos, we do everything for you. Okay, I'll email the agreement to your email while we're on the phone today, and we'll walk through it together, and we aim to have it signed today so we can get the ball rolling. Sound good? So we're setting the expectations right now that I'm going to send them the purchase agreement. We're going to talk about it on the phone, and then we want to get it signed today so we can get this project going. There is no pressure sale. There is no, we need to make a decision today, right? There's other tactics you could use, but we try not to do that on the offer call right now, right? We want to set the expectation that, we want to sign it today so we can get your help sooner, right? The longer you wait, the longer it's going to take to actually close the deal and get your money in the pocket. Okay. So if they need to talk to someone, which sometimes you do, if you don't handle it above, this is where the objection is going to probably happen, where they say, totally get that. This is a big decision. Besides time to think, what would you need to see or understand to feel comfortable moving forward? So if someone said they need to talk to their wife, asking them this type of question is to actually get what they're concerned about, right? We obviously want their spouse to feel comfortable, but honestly, sometimes, most of the time, actually, that's BS. They want to talk to somebody because they don't feel comfortable or they don't understand something. So you want to try to get that answer out of them so you can handle it now versus, them disappearing on you. At the end of the day, if you still can't come to agreement, you want to follow the BAM fam rule, which is book an appointment during an appointment. And you want to do the same thing I talked about earlier in this module. You want to set a time, you want to set a date, and you want to set the agenda. Okay? You always want to be very clear with that. Just speaking about the BAM fam, I want to have a slide on this as well. It's book a meeting from a meeting, right? That's what BAM fam means. Ultimately, never end a call without scheduling your next call. Okay? Be very clear and concise. This single habit will double your conversion rate because most deals die in the silence, right? You never want to remain in silence. So here's some steps you could take. Let's schedule a time to talk again. I have day and time open. Does that work for you? Okay. If they resist in scheduling, find out why. Hey, totally understand. Like, what needs to happen before we talk again? How can I help you move this forward? Right? You're trying to get the objection out. Okay. If they say yes, send the invite immediately. Don't say like, okay, let's talk on Friday at 3 p.m. and then schedule and then send the calendar invite 4 hours later. They're going to forget who you are. Send it right now when you're on the phone with them so they get that confirmation, right? This is another thing. This is what increases your show rate when someone shows up a call 60% by confirming 24 hours before the call. If you guys are booking appointments and you're not checking in on them with an email or a text message 24 hours prior, you are literally losing 60% conversion rate. Like, make sure that thing goes up by a simple reminder. You can do this all automated through a CRM, and I promise you this works. Okay, so this is your pillar 3 project, how to implement your sales systems. So at the end of this video, below this module, you'll have our sales script, our objection handling bucket, and also the lead SOP triage. And then you want to set up your CRM pipeline with the 6 simple steps, right? Super easy. You can use whatever CRM you use. We personally use Go High Level, or you can use an Excel document if you really wanted to. Number 2, you're going to use the discovery script, right? And then you're going to be able to rehearse it, refine it, right? So you don't have to write out the script because we're going to give it to you, but make yourself feel comfortable. Make sure you memorize it. Make sure you understand the psychology of why we do certain things. Okay. Number 3, your offer script. Once again, you don't have to write it, but I want you to live that script, understand it, and believe in yourself that you can do it. And last but not least, number 4, record 3 mock calls using the framework that I'm teaching you today. Okay, partner with somebody in the school community and role play. One person plays a seller, one person plays a wholesaler, rotate and give feedback, right? Do this until the framework feels natural. And then also, you can always transcribe your phone calls, throw them in the ChatGPT with our scripts, and ask ChatGPT to grade your score, right? You can ask ChatGPT to grade your transcript based off our scoring rubric and our script, and then also give yourself feedback with ChatGPT. The only way that you'll improve your sales process is to actually practice, record your calls, listen to them, right? You're going to listen to some of your calls and be like, wow, that sounds really cringy. How many guys actually listen to your own calls? This is the number way to improve role playing and listening to your phone calls. And this is what we do to train our own sales teams as well. So there's the accountability post at the very bottom. Make sure you fill in your post that you finished watching this module and what your biggest takeaway was. And we'll see you guys in the next module where we talk about systems and operation. All right, welcome back to module 4. We're going to talk about systems, the KPIs to track, and then how to find consistency within your wholesale business. So great operators don't rely on motivation, and they rely on the systems. We know that you're super motivated because you're getting started in your journey, you're trying to scale, and then you're watching this whole entire course. I know the motivation is there, but you're just missing some of the systems, right? This module, though, is going to turn you into a consistent deal maker who knows the numbers and makes data-driven decisions, okay? How many of you guys make decisions that are emotional based, right? I feel like I should change my marketing, or I feel like my sales process messed up. There's no hard data that's actually helping you make a decision. And this is what this module is here to do. So basic deal math, having a system to be able to quickly underwrite and understand max allowable offers, which is your MAO. That is the highest price you can get a seller under contract and be able to sell it for an assignment fee. So you have to understand the basic math. So every offer starts with 3 numbers, and you want to master this formula so you'll confidently present offers that make sense for you and your buyers. It obviously, there's a lot of weird things that could play into it, right? Like likeness of a house, or maybe it's on a main road, or maybe it has a garage, but you will get more experience when you understand your market, understand the house in the market. But this is the easy solution to kind of quickly understand your numbers. So what is ARV? That is the after repair value. So that is what the property would sell for in perfect retail condition. So you put some money in the house, you fixed it up, you painted it, and you want to pull at least 3 to 5 recent sales on the market or on Zillow within a 5 or half a mile radius. Okay. You want to see what's sold in the last 90 days. If there's less houses in the area, then you want to increase it to 6 months and then ultimately 1 year. The older the houses that sold, the less accurate it's going to be, right? Because the market changes every month. And you want to always compare it to apples, right? So if it's a 3-bedroom house, you want to look at 3-bedroom houses. You want to look at 2-bathroom houses. You want to compare it with 2-bathroom houses. You don't want to compare a 1-bedroom apartment to a 3 bathroom or 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, like ranch style house. The value is not going to be there. It's just not going to make sense. So you want to compare everything the same. So an example of this is you have a house that sold for 185, 190, and 195, and you want to average that out, right? These are all three houses that are similar and in the same area that the house you're looking at. So for us, when we quickly look at it, it's $190,000 after repair value. So you use everything in the market and compare it and then get your average out of it. And that's what you think the after repair value is. So the next thing is you want to look at repairs, right? How much money do you think it's going to cost to fix things? And luckily, we have a repair cheat sheet that we're going to give you guys in the very bottom of this course to help you guys understand your numbers and your math. So what you want to do is you want to estimate how much money it's going to take to fix that property. So if you use a very simple approach, $15 or $25 per square foot, that's a really quick way to estimate, how much money you need to renovate, but you can obviously use our guide that's very detailed. Okay. You can walk the property with a contractor for a detailed estimate. That's usually what we do. We send a contractor or an inspector when we're getting ready to actually flip a house. But if you're wholesaling, you just need to really inspect it. Okay. So a quick example of this, the poopier houses, the less better condition is probably going to be in the lower dollar amount. And then if you're renovating at a super high amount, like if it's a nicer neighborhood, you want to put a little bit more money into it. So let's just say that it's an average home, 1,200 square foot times $20 per square foot. You need to repair it by $24,000, right? Now, obviously things change when you talk to the seller and they may say, oh, I have a roof that's blown out. Okay, so you want to make sure that you want to annotate that there's an $8,000 roof that needs to be repaired. So that would bring your numbers way higher. So there's always outliers to this, but this is just a quick method to kind of figure out what your repairs are. So now you're going to figure out what you can actually offer and what the highest amount you can offer. So the most you can pay and still leave profit for a buyer, this is the formula. So you want to take your after repair value of 190,000 and then you want to multiply that by 70%. The reason why you do that is most people who are buying flips is usually using hard money of some sort, and you want to make sure that the value that you give your property enough space. Okay. Once you get that number, you're going to subtract it by the renovation cost that you believe that this property needs. Okay. And then if you want the average assignment fee of $10,000, you want to make sure that you subtract your assignment fee into this equation, which gives you your $99,000 max allowable. So if you're talking to a seller and you want to give them a cash offer, this is the absolute highest that you would need to offer to that seller. So this is just a quick example, a quick equation to help you guys comp properties quicker. Now, as you guys get more experience and understand your market, there's going to be different nuances that affect the after repair value of your property, right? Is there an attached garage? Is the outside brick versus vinyl, right? Brick house is always worth more. We cover that more in depth in our flipping side of the program, where Phil covers it more in depth. But this is just a quick wholesale math equation to help you out. So these are some of the KPIs that you should follow. So these are all the basic six conversion methods that we talked about in the last module, right? You want to see how many leads you added, how many conversations you started, how many appointments you started, and then did you make any offers? And then out of those offers, did you actually get any contracts signed? Right? So these are the basics things that you should track in your sales process to understand where you have some friction. So let me kind of give you an example of why this is so important. So if you weren't tracking this, and let's say in week 4, you had 21 conversations, and then you had 8 appointments set, right? That's pretty awesome in that week. So you had 8 solid appointments. They wanted to talk to you. They wanted to sell. And then you made 5 offers. Okay. That's actually a really high number. So what we like to do is every 2 to 3 offer calls usually results in an offer. And the reason why is we track that very detailed, because if we are making too many offers, that means we're not prospecting deep enough, right? If you're sending too little offers, you're not taking enough shots, right? It's okay to not make an offer if the seller doesn't want it. It just blows my mind that everyone talks about sheer volume. Like, I've had people that have made 8 offers in a week, got 0 offers accepted because they're not actually screening their prospects deep enough. Okay. If you're making 5 offers and you're only getting 1 offer accepted, that may be a sales process problem, right? But if let's say this is a red flag for me. So if you had 8 appointments set and you had 0 offers made, to me as a sales manager or sales director, I would listen to every single phone call of one of my acquisition managers that week. And I would listen to those calls to see if there was anybody on that list that he called and saw if there's any motivation that he missed. Because 8 conversations, remember, we try to shoot for 2.5, right? 2 to 3 offer calls is a contract. So if he had 8 conversations and made no offers, those are red flags. Maybe he missed something. Maybe he missed key important information. Maybe he didn't dig deep enough on a actual situation where you as a sales manager can take that call over, close the seller, and actually make $10,000 or more on that deal. And if you weren't tracking your KPIs, you would have left 10 plus $1,000 on the table and you wouldn't even know about it. So this is why tracking your metrics is so important. We have a KPI dashboard for your sales teams down below as well as a free resource to help you be able to track what is actually working. All right, so here's an example of KPIs of what we track. So this is a KPI tracker that my team personally uses, and we give these to our students. But basically, cold calling, you want to see connectivity rate, right? So this is you using your phone or a dialer and seeing how many dials you make and how many are actually connected and not being blocked from a marketer, right? Or a cell phone vendor. Because here's the thing, you can make 10,000 phone calls, but if the phone carriers are blocking 80% of it, you're just wasting your time or your team's time and you're not actually getting on the phone with sellers. So you want to make sure that your connectivity rate is ranging between 40 to 60%. And then you want to actually connect with a real person, have a conversation, 10 to 20% of your leads. So if you're talking to 1,000 sellers, right, or 1,000 leads and you call them, you want to talk to at least 10 to 20%. Now, out of every $100 that you have, a good benchmark is every $100 you're having 2 to 4 engaged or conversations. So these are people that are not telling you to F off or they instantly hang up on you. These are people that are kind of interested in talking to you. And out of those people, you want to actually have conversations with them, right? So those are your positive intent conversations, right? Out of those conversations, you want to hit at least 30% of them on an appointment, right? And then once you have an appointment, you guys heard earlier in the module, we try to offer at least every 2 to 3 sellers that are high quality. So every 3 people that we talk to that's interested in selling, our team should be producing a contract and offering them. So these are the type of conversations and tracking that you need to have. And every marketing channel you have, you should have KPIs that you track. Like we track stuff for everything: SMS, cold email, pay per click, PPLs. We don't really use them anymore, but we do have metrics for them. And then obviously direct mail, right? So we track metrics for every single marketing channel. And then as you get more and more sophisticated, you'll understand more things in your business. But I want you to focus on the cold calling and actual sales process because that's what you guys will be doing. Use the 6 pipelines that we gave you in the last module. So last but not least, I wanted to show you systems in a CRM. So we obviously use Go High Level. You're able to use Go High Level as well. We actually have a free trial code down below. If you guys want to use our Go High Level trial, we'll give you a light snapshot so you don't have to build everything from scratch because it is an absolute pain in the butt. So we'll give you the snapshot, but this is what Go High Level can do. Go High Level, you can customize it however you want. We obviously do county courthouse records, so we actually can see which leads are coming in for divorce, which leads are code violations, what are coming in for pre-foreclosures. We also have email marketing leads. So if we're cold emailing, how many of them are responding, opening up our emails, we can track everything within Go High Level. But the most important thing is probably the automations on how we automate our entire business with text messaging and emails, and then also having the AI involved, right? So you can build your own AI. But before we get into it, I want to show you like how many different workflows you can actually do. And I'm going to teach you guys how to actually make a basic text workflow. This is one of our workflows for texting. It's very, very large. It's very complicated, but it automates everything. And it also shows you how we use our data, how it sorts it out, organizes it, and then ultimately begins a text message campaign automatically just by loading in the data. So I'm going to start a new workflow. And this will be a very simple text automation. So I'll kind of go back here. So if you go on automation here and you click on create workflow in the top right, you're going to start from scratch right here. And then boom, you have a new workflow. You can actually talk to the AI now to kind of figure out what your plan is, but you can do a very simple automation. So every automation starts with a trigger. So if you start a trigger, let's say the trigger is a tag, right? So let's say you want to tag something and this is foreclosure. Okay. So you want to add a tag, and it says it right here. The first thing you do is tag added, and you want to put foreclosure, right? And you want to do foreclosure here. I already have this tag in here. Cool. You're going to click save trigger. So whenever you add something and you tag it with foreclosure, the automation should go off. So what I usually do is you don't want to send, let's say you load 1,000 leads into the system. You don't want it to text 1,000 people. So what we'll do is we add a drip. So you add a drip campaign here. Let's say you want to send 10 text messages for every 10 minutes, right? So you want to make it natural. So let's make it smaller. So let's say you want to send 5 text messages for every 10 minutes. This shows the phone carriers that you're a little human and you're not fully automating your business, because it'd probably take me 10 minutes to write 10 text messages, right? You want to make sure that you sound human or act like a human as best as possible. So if you load 1,000 leads, the system will send 5 messages per 10 minutes until the campaign's complete. So what you would do here is you can send SMS and you can create your own templates here. We have a whole bunch of templates made for certain campaigns, but you can type your own thing, right? So you can say, hey, I'm looking to speak to the owner of 123 Main Street, right? So obviously if you were texting this yourself, you'd actually have to type in the address, but with Go High Level, you can actually add tags. So if you add custom values here, this little tag here, you can click on contact and you'll have all the different data pieces that you load into the CRM. So you can actually put address on this. So basically when I send an automation, it's going to pull the data from the records and actually say what the address is. So, hey, I'm looking to speak to the owner of 123 Main Street. Click save. Done. Okay. If you want to do an automation campaign to follow up with them, too easy. You're gonna add another thing. You're gonna hit wait. You're gonna do a time delay. Maybe you want to do 24 hours. Okay. So we'll wait a whole day, and then we're gonna send another text message, right? Last message. You can do whatever you want. You can use ChatGPT to make your text message whatever you want. Our personal opinion, when you're making text messages, if you're talking to county records, you want to be as personal as possible, right? Hey, we saw the auction, F5 August, whatever. And you can actually put that into your CRM to actually track auction dates if you're pulling that, right? If you look at our text message with county records, we actually have the auction date on it. So one of our text messages is, hey, we saw that you have an auction on 5 February. Is that correct? Or is that still right? Right? We want to show that it's personalized to their situation, so they're more inclined to text us back. Okay. There's a lot of different things. So if you were building out a long-term campaign, like a long-term nurture, something you can do is, let's say you send 2 text messages and you want to wait, another 24 hours. Okay. So 3 days later, this is not our personal SOP, but this is just an example. So out of this is 3 days that's going on. And then what you can do is you can type in workflow and you could type in add to workflow. So if you had a long-term sequence that you made on Go High Level, you can actually automatically move leads into this. So we have a nerd leacher campaign, right? Long-term nurture. Long-term nurture is an automation we built that text messages once a week for 4 weeks, once a month for 4 months, and then it goes into a cold status. Okay. But you can literally just do that. Now, basically, you have a 2 text message automation. Whenever you load your foreclosure data, after 3 days, it'll go into your long-term nurture sequence. It's so easy to build this. Now, our CRM is obviously really built out for hardcore outbound messaging, where we're sending 5, 6, 7,000 text messages a month. We're also doing a ton of different cold calls, and we have a ton of different marketing channels flowing within. Um, all the text messages are built out, all the automation is built out. It's literally plug and play. If you guys are interested in doing something like this with us, you could just book a call and do a demo call. But this is what you can do if you're building this out from scratch. It's $97 a month to use Go High Level. So I'll kind of show you the pricing here. So if you look at the pricing, down here, we scroll down, it does all these different things for you. It's not just for real estate. You can use this for your social media. You can use this for email marketing. These are all the different softwares we consolidate into Go High Level. It also has a website. So we put our SEO website on here so you don't have to pay for Carrot. I think Carrot's like 20, 30 bucks a month. You save that money just by doing Go High Level. Okay. So starter, you can do it yourself for $97 a month. And then $297 a month, which is 300 bucks a month. That's to get all the integration stuff. So if you're using different softwares like Ready Mode or Launch Control, you would need this $300 a month plan to be able to integrate everything. So that's the big catch. But you can do everything normal by building your own automation for 97 bucks a month. So if you use our free trial code, we'll give you a light snapshot that has a few automations and text messages built out so you can get rolling as soon as possible. So let's go back to the slides here. So I want to give you the 90-day focus plan for you. Okay. So your 90-day focus plan, shiny object syndrome kills most wholesalers. Okay. It destroys most wholesaling businesses when you guys want to change your strategy every 30 days, right? You want to call agents for 30 days, you don't get a deal. You call foreclosures for 30 days, you don't get a deal. Then you're going to go door knock, right? I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of investors, brand new wholesalers that change their strategy every 30 days. I want you to commit to these 4 constraints and 4 pillars that we talked about in this module for at least 90 days. And I want you to watch your results compound, okay? The skills that you gain, the confidence that you gain just by sticking to one strategy for a consistent time. So I want you to focus on one market. I want you to pick a single county or metro. So we do Houston, Texas. And I want you to become an expert. I want you to understand the market. I want you to meet people and build connections there, right? Hard money lenders, title companies. If you're in one market, you become a master, okay? You want to be focused, so it lets you memorize your comps, makes you understand your neighborhoods, and also who your buyers are. So if you're nationwide as a brand new wholesaler, you don't have VIP buyers. You have to rely on JVing and using other softwares like InvestorLift, which is an amazing software. I think you can crush with InvestorLift alone, but you want to have VIP buyers, right? When we get a deal, we know we have a buyer in almost every neighborhood in Houston, and we just have to text or call them because they're our VIP and they're the most serious buyers. You can't do that if you're nationwide, especially when you first start. Number 2, I want you to focus on one list type. Okay, you can focus on pre-foreclosures, probates, whatever the case may be. Foreclosure is probably the best because they have to make a decision now versus later, right? And it's also way easier to get foreclosure data than probate data, right? But I want you to focus on one, and I want you to understand the unique seller psychology and objections you get with the foreclosure, right? Oh, I don't have enough time. My auction's 3 days from now. That's a whole different situation than calling a code violation that has, a ton of time to work out their problems. They're going to have different objections like alternate paths, right? If you're calling a code violation, they'll say, oh, I can just pay this off, right? So there's different situations, different issues. By focusing on one, you'll refine your scripts and conversion process much faster, right? So if you only talk to foreclosure leads, you know all the different scenarios that could happen with a foreclosure. And that's what gives you the confidence and the smoothness and how to articulate how to solve that problem. I know we talked about a lot of marketing, right? We talked about a lot of different marketing. We have marketing workshops as well that covers things way in depth as well. But I want you to focus on one main channel. And if you have the ability or the money to invest in an automation, then you can focus on 2. I don't want you to go past that, right? I want you to be able to execute 1 to 2 channels at a very high level for 90 days. I want you to build mastery and consistent output before you layer all the other channels, okay? The depth of understanding the marketing beats the width in the beginning, right? When you're managing 10 different marketing channels, you're spending all this money, you're not being able to track things, it's overwhelming. So I want you to focus on the 1 to 2 things that can make you the most money. Okay. Sales process, one script. So I call it the motherload script because it's the one script, the one process that you need to use for every single seller. It doesn't matter. I built it for that reason. Okay. It is the most important thing I want to tell you is you have to understand there's just one script, right? Use the same discovery and the offer framework on every call for 90 days. The reason why is if you don't have consistency or you don't have iterations of it, you're not going to learn. And there's also nothing to compare yourself to. If you're just winging it, if you're just speaking to sellers willy nilly, how can you really improve? You have no foundation to grade yourself on or grade your callers. Okay. After 100 times you use the script on a call, I promise you, it's going to feel intuitive, right? You know exactly what works and what to change after 100 calls, right? Don't change things after your second or third call because you're still learning and you're still trying to understand the process. Stick with it for 30 days. So these are the 4 things, okay, that I want you to focus on for the next 3 months. And this is going to help you become the most successful. Most beginners try 5 markets, 3 different types, 4 marketing channels, and they change their script every single week. That's not what I want for you. They never gain the traction because they're always starting over. Okay, just understand that. And some of you guys have probably felt that. So constraints create the clarity, and clarity creates the results. Okay, just understand that. So make sure the accountability post in the very bottom. Make sure you comment what your plan is, what 4 pillars you're super excited about, and I want to make sure that you're promising to yourself that you're staying committed to this 90-day plan.
All right, welcome to module 5, which is the dispositions, right? This is how you actually get paid is when you find the buyer, right? So you've locked up the deal, now it's time to get paid, and this module is going to walk you through the exact process of finding cash buyers without spending a ton of money on doing it, okay? I'm going to teach you how to package your deals like a pro and how to close these deals fast. This is where all the money is coming from. So everybody online loves to teach you sales, including myself. I have a very big sales background, and everyone loves to teach you guys how to actually lock up deals. But a lot of times, no one really talks about how to sell the deals because there actually takes a lot of skill. There takes some systems involved, and it just takes some hard work to build good relationships in your local markets, right? Which is why we always talk about sticking to one major market and getting really deep and getting involved with the community. So let's get into the training here. So, what is dispositions? So, remember, guys, you're not actually selling the property because most time you don't own it unless you're going to double close, which we'll talk about it at a later part of this module. You're selling the contract. Okay, you have the right to buy the property, but with a purchase agreement, and then you want to sell that contract or the right to the property to a cash buyer that actually wants to buy the house as a rental or buy it as a fix and flip where they're going to put the money in and then sell it on the market. Okay. That is the beauty of wholesaling. You don't actually own the property and you're just controlling the rights of the property through a purchase agreement. Okay. How do you get paid and what's your profit? So your profit is an assignment fee. Okay, is the difference between what you promised the seller for and then what you sell it for to the buyer, right? So that's usually the investor. Okay, so an example of this is you get a property under contract for 80,000 and you sell it on a contract for cash to another buyer for 90,000. And then your difference is $10,000, which is your assignment fee, and that's how you get paid. So this is a typical wholesaling flow. Like you guys have gone through the course now, the free course. So you've already known that business is two-sided with wholesaling. It's the acquisition side, which is the sales and convincing a seller that you're their best solution, but you get that contract signed. The second one is you have to actually market that contract and sell it to an end buyer. Okay. That is where you collect the spread and you ultimately get paid, which makes you super happy. And then you can put money back into the business to grow it. Most beginners obsess over finding the deal, but the money is truly made within the dispositions, right? If you're super good at dispositions, you can actually help sell deals with other wholesalers that are locking up deals but don't have buyers. But if you have those buyers, you can actually make money through JVs or joint ventures. So, how do you build your buyer list? Like, this is just a quick list. I'm going to show you some really, really simple tips and tricks to help you guys find buyers for super cheap. And then I'm going to show you guys how to find buyers by actually spending money. So you can do everything free and paid, just like, finding data, automating your systems, the same thing with finding buyers. So let's start off with the free stuff. Okay. So obviously, every city that you're in, there's always a local market or local real estate association or meetups, right? So if you are focused in your backyard, which I don't necessarily approve unless you're in a big city like Houston or Dallas or something like that. But if you are starting in your local market, you can always go to local meetups. And those local meetups have tons of investors that don't have the skills that you're developing right now, which is deal finding. So a lot of investors, including myself, my partner Phil, I think Phil has flipped over 70 houses the last 2 years, and every single deal was bought by a wholesaler or bought from a wholesaler. So he literally posted a video the other day where he paid a wholesaler $75,000 for finding him a foreclosure lead, and then he ultimately flipped it for $60,000 profit. So all his deals are found from wholesalers, which is, he connects with them at local meetups or through social media. So you'll find a ton of different buyers that don't want to go through what, we're learning how to do, right? Marketing the sellers, negotiating with the sellers, and then doing the walkthroughs with the sellers. Like, most of these people don't want to do it. So there's tons and tons of people in these areas that want to meet you, right? So go out there and meet them. Number two, you can do Craigslist, Facebook groups, right? There's thousands of Facebook groups probably in your local market. Get super active, start meeting people, start connecting with somebody. I know one kid who literally scoured Facebook groups for an entire year and built a buyers list in Louisville, Kentucky of like over 500 people, right? Obviously, not all of them are super serious buyers, but with a CRM or automated system like we showed you how to build in Module 4, you can actually automate your email blasts and you can automate your text message blast, right? So there's so many things you could do to automate your business. Number three, Bigger Pockets, right? You can connect with people on Bigger Pockets. It's the number one real estate platform probably in the country. You can always look on county tax records or Zillow. So I'll show you Zillow, right? Zillow is a super cool way to actually to find buyers in your local market. So let's start where I started real estate investing, which was Louisville, Kentucky. And you can look at county tax records and you can also look on Zillow, because at the end of the day, what I mean by that is you can see all the recently sold properties in your area. And then what you can do is look at the properties and see if they are fully renovated, right? If they are a fully renovated property that looks like it was fix and flip, then I'll give you some examples here. Those people are probably buyers. Okay. So they're probably fix and flippers who bought a house that was beat up and then they ultimately fixed it and sold it. So I know in Louisville, Kentucky, in the West End, in this area here, most people are flipping house in this area. So let's take a look, right? So what I did was I filtered out in the very top to sold, and then you can actually set a price limit. So what I want to do is I want to do a max price of 300,000 because I know that any house above that is just not really wholesalable in this area. And then also you can also look at like, 3-bedroom houses, 2-bedroom houses, whatever the case may be. You can actually filter all this stuff out. And then you can actually track who's been buying properties in the area. So what I would do personally is you'll see all these houses on the right hand side and you can actually sort it. So you can look at low to high. So when I look at these low houses here, anyone who are buying houses super low like this are probably real estate investors, right? Like, this house doesn't necessarily look super livable. And I want to show you, like, there's only 4 photos. It looks really beat up. It's dirty. The chimney needs a ton of work. And you scroll down and there's only 4 photos, right? This thing's on freaking slabs. So more often than not, this property was probably bought by a real estate investor who's going to put some money in it, turn it into a rental, or they're going to fix and flip it. So what I would do, I would identify this property as something that would be interesting to me, and I actually scroll down and I see who the seller was or the realtor. So as you can see here, there is a realtor listed on this property. So what you can do is you can actually call or text that realtor and say, "Hey, I saw that you sold a house on this address at this date. Is there anybody, like, did you have a buyer that was an investor? If so, are they looking for other properties? Because I actually have a property in the area under contract and I'm trying to actually sell it." So what you want to do is you want to focus on the area that you're buying the property or wholesaling the property. So if you know that you're in this area or this neighborhood, this is what you want to do to kind of screen this. Okay. So you kind of go through the list here. Actually, I flipped this house myself on Lowers Hunter's Trace, but you can look at all these different things. So you look at this house. This house is pretty weird. Only one photo, probably sold by the owner. And you just scroll down and there was a realtor listed on this, right? Hey, the person that bought this house, do you happen to know the buyer's agent, right? So if someone listed this property and it was bought, they may or may not know who the investor is. So you want to actually ask them like, hey, was this house an investment property? And if they say yes, do you happen to know who the buyer's agent is? Because I actually want to connect with their buyer because I actually have a property in the area that I'm trying to wholesale or sell to an investor, right? So this is all different ways to do it. You can look at deeds and county records to see who's been buying properties, but this is a super, super free way to do it. And it works, right? Look at this house, $25,000. This is definitely a banged up property, right? So many different ways to do it. Cool. So you'll probably see a ton of bandit signs out in your local market as well. You'll see the buy houses cash, buy houses fast, all these signs all over the place. You can always give them a call because they're probably wholesalers or flippers trying to find their next deal. What great way to bring them a deal and sell it really quick. Okay. Another way with bandit signs. So we're talking about bandit signs, but let's go to Google. Okay. There's a ton of local home buyer companies. Okay. So sell my home fast, Louisville, Kentucky. The reason why I'm doing this is because there's tons of companies that are probably mainstream, right? You don't want to sell to the mainstream company necessarily because, they are some buyers, like we've sold homes to rebuilt, open door, all these different things, but they're going to want the houses on a discount because they're going to do something with that house. They're going to assign it themselves, or maybe they're going to flip it themselves, whatever the case may be. They're always going to be on a discount. So it's always good to have a connection with them, but I don't recommend selling to them like directly. But if you look at the local houses here, so I looked up Sell My Home Fast in Louisville, Kentucky. This is something that an actual homeowner that's looking to sell their property would do on Google. The reason why I do this is because I see who the local people are. So these are people who are running PPC ads, not necessarily the people that I want to talk to. I'll just scroll down, look at who's local in the area, and then also scroll down even lower. So usually under the Google Maps area, these are local high-ranking properties or companies that are buying properties in the area. Just click on this one, Simply Sold. So I actually know the owner of this company here, Simply Sold, but literally, dude, like just call or text them. Okay, these home buying companies are literally advertising their stuff. So you can always say, hey, I found your website on Google. I know that you're a home buyer wholesale company as well, but are you actually buying deals too, or are you just wholesaling? Right? If they're saying that they're flipping or buying houses themselves, like, dude, would you take a look at this deal and see if you're interested? Or would you be open to JVing with me, right? Joint venture. So these big companies that are ranking super high in Google most likely have a ton of buyers in the local area because they've been established. They have the ability to rank super high on Google. These are great JV partners, and these are also great buyers potentially for your deals. Let's just go back. Vince Buys. This is a really famous dude. He's got bandit signs all over the city as well. Same thing. There's a phone number right here. So these guys are actually marketing themselves, and you're using their marketing dollars to actually find buyers for them. Okay. The next thing that I want to tell you that's absolutely free and nobody's teaching you is hard money lenders, right? Hard money lenders, Louisville, Kentucky. So hard money lenders are private institutions that are lend money to fix and flippers, right? So they'll lend you money to be able to buy houses cash, and then they'll actually give you the money to renovate. So these are super high interest loans, but these guys know a ton of investors. So what I used to do, Kentucky Private Lending, I've used them a couple times. M&M Lending, this is a pretty famous company in Louisville. But same thing below, you go under the Google Maps here, and then you see a ton of people here. If you click on Kentucky Private Lending here, these guys actually loaned me some money in my first couple of deals. But what you do is, hey, you introduce yourself, you build a relationship with these hard money lenders, and you go, hey, I have a deal. Can you underwrite this? And their whole job is to tell you if a deal is a deal. especially if they're in the local market. They know the neighborhoods, they know the comps, they know what is a good deal or not a deal. And you can actually tell them, hey, if this is a great deal, would you be open to advertising this deal to your buyers? And then ultimately you get the loan. All they care about is getting more and more loans. So, what better way to build a relationship by saying, hey, you can be the hard money lender in Kentucky that actually markets my deals and you get the loan on the back end, and then I take my finder's fee. It's so, so easy. Nobody is freaking telling you this. The next thing that you can do is you can look at local title companies, right? Companies in Louisville, Kentucky. There are a few different title companies in Louisville, Kentucky that I personally use. You have to have a conversation with them because some of them don't do wholesaling, they don't support it, or whatever the case may be. But I know there are a ton of title companies in your area that would love to do the file, right? So if they have, some of these title companies have hundreds of buyers that close tons of deals. Like I know some of them personally, where they're super happy to introduce you to one of their buyers. And then ultimately, that person is going to be closing that file at that title company. So everyone gets paid. So I don't know if you know kind of what the theme of this is, right? Is you can find disposition partners in your local market that are professional companies that deal with hundreds and hundreds of buyers. And at the end of the day, your value that you bring them is an opportunity for them to make money for their business, either through a hard money loan or maybe even opening up a title company file where they're going to get paid a couple $1,000s just by closing. Like I said, I wanted to give you guys some free ways, and then obviously there's faster, easier ways with software. This is a very expensive vehicle to dispo your deals, but this is probably one of the best softwares out there. I'm sure you've heard of InvestorLift. InvestorLift is a basic marketplace with millions of buyers. Like I think there's 6 million people or something like that on this app. And basically what you do is if you have a deal in your market, Houston, Louisville, whatever the case may be, there are probably thousands of buyers in that market in every city. And what you do is when you market this deal, it actually gets blasted out to the buyers that are registered to this. So I get text messages all the time from Houston deals of other wholesalers trying to sell their deals. And this is a great marketing tool. It's literally a freaking cheat code when you use this, but it's absolutely insane. Like you can tell, like there are just houses listed all the time. There's a house in DC, Spring, Texas, which is kind of near my market. And it's super easy, right? If you're a buyer, so find your next investment in 3 steps. You tell InvestorLift what your buy box is, and then you're going to underwrite the deals that you find on InvestorLift, and then you can actually talk to the wholesaler through this app here. So if you're a fix and flipper looking for your next deal, you can use InvestorLift for free. If you're a wholesaler like myself, you have to pay for the software in order to market this deal, right? But you'll have access to 6 million other investors. And then also InvestorLift has a bunch of AI tools and stuff. Like for us, we use InvestorLift and a VA. And what we do is we can pull lists from InvestorLift of buyers in our market. And then our VA can use the CRM to automate text messages, emails, and then also cold call buyers in the area that's bought houses within the last 90 days. Okay. There's so many cool things you can do with this, but pretty sweet. It's a marketplace. It's online. Tons and tons and tons of people are marketing deals on here. But yes, it is definitely pricey, but I did want to show you guys what's in the realm of possible as you guys start scaling your business. So once you talk to somebody that is a interested buyer or a potential buyer, you need to qualify that buyer. And I have a sample script right here of how you can introduce yourself and how you can talk about the deal, and how to ultimately get their buy box. Because what the last thing you want to do, if you're a beginner, you're going to get thousands of people's business cards, contact information, whatever the case may be, but you want to organize each buyer within your CRM that has their buy box. So you're not sending them text messages or emails on deals that they don't want. An example of this is, hey, I'm a, I'm a single family guy. I don't want HOAs. I don't want townhouses, right? And all you're sending me is condos and townhouses. I'm going to just mark you as spam and never talk to you again. Because obviously you're not listening to me and you're not finding deals that I'm personally looking for. So you need to find out what their buy box is. Okay. Number two, what type of properties do you even prefer? Like, is it single family, multifamily? Do you know, like, do you do land? Like, what is your strategy? Okay. Number three, how do you fund your deals? This is actually a super important thing because cash buyers can close fast. So if you know, like for me, if I tell you that I'm using hard money, everyone who uses hard money knows that it's going to be at least 15 to 30 plus days because we have to go qualify that deal with an underwriter and then they're going to lend the money. And it's always a longer time period. So we had a situation personally where the buyer's agent, who was a dummy, I'm not talking crap about agents, but we had an agent that told us that the buyer was a cash buyer and they had a 1031 exchange. So it means that they sold the property and then they had hard cash that they had to deploy super fast so they don't pay taxes. So we were dealing with a foreclosure lead and they said that they can close within 7 to 10 days. If you have hard cash, that's very possible. Then we find out they lied and said that it was a hard money loan and we had to delay the auction and do all these different things because the lender was going to take about 40 days to close, which was crazy. Okay, so you want to find out what type of cash or what type of money your investors are using, and then you can use them for certain deals. So if you know that you have a foreclosure that is going to auction in 7 days, you want to talk to your cash buyers that have cold hard cash in their hands that can close within that time frame. If not, you can't market to them because it's going to be pointless. You know that they're not going to be able to close. Okay, you want to ask them how quick they can close, which kind of falls under the lending, right? How much money do they have accessible, how they're going to fund it, but also like how soon are they looking to buy, right? Some people are saying that they want to buy 2, 3 deals a month. And then you ask them, they're like, oh, I won't have money for like 60 days. So you want to really understand when your buyers are ready to go. Some people are like, oh, I'm looking to buy next month. Some people are looking to buy deals right now to keep their contractors busy. Okay. Last thing is how many deals have you closed this year? Okay, this is kind of personal. Some people may lie, right? But obviously you want to see how active they are. Because if they are doing multiple deals a month, you know that they're probably going to be a more reliable buyer down the road because they're so active. If people are doing one deal a year, I know they're never going to buy a deal from me. Like once they say like, "Oh, I buy one deal a year," I usually don't market to them unless the deal fit their buy box perfectly, and then I would go through a sales process and convince them to buy it. So it just really depends on um, what they're looking for. But I'm looking for more experienced buyers that are looking to buy at least 1 to 2 deals a month. Right? Those are your consistent VIP buyers. Okay, this is how you determine it right here, depending on how much volume they have. So you're going to market the deal. So I'm going to give you guys step one is building your deal package. Okay. You want to have a one page email or packet, whatever the case may be, with all the photos, all the numbers, all this stuff. And you want to give as much detail as possible where a buyer like myself can look at it and say, yes, like there's no questions, there's nothing. I've seen so many deals sent to me that make no sense, right? There's stuff missing in it. How old's the roof? How old's the plumbing? Is it tenant occupied? Like, I don't want to ask questions, right? And so does tons of other investors. We want to see a deal, be able to read whatever you sent us, and it should give us all the information that we need to say yes or no. Okay. That's how you should have that mindset. If you're missing information, do not send it. Okay. Think about what investors want. So I actually have a full Dispo package that's going to be linked below this video. So you can literally fill in the checklist and then you're going to have a once in the world one pager so you can send out. Okay. Once you create that deal package, then what I recommend is you use a CRM and you can automate everything through your CRM by sending out an email blast and a text blast to all your VIP buyers or your top buyers or anything that fits a certain person's buy box. Okay. Text your hottest buyers personally. This is how you crush. So if I have a VIP buyer that I know would love to buy this house, I'm not going to send them an email, bro. I'm going to freaking have my VA text them. And it's going to be more personal. Like, hey, bro, like, got a deal in this area. I know you were looking for one in this zip code. Take a look at it, bro. You got first dibs. So I make my VIP buyers feel special. And also, I always market my deals to my VIPs first, and it's always going to be at a higher price. If I can't sell at a higher price, I'm going to market it to everybody else as a more generic blast. And then last but not least, this is the least effective in my opinion, but it's available to you, is posting it in a Facebook group full of investors or you can market it to your local market with your local connections. Okay. Step number 5 is you can always joint venture. You can always partner with people. So we do a joint venture program with our students as well. If you have deals that you can't sell, you can send it to my team. They can underwrite it. They can see if it works. See if we even have a buyer viable for that deal. So we only focus in major cities. But what we also use, we use Investor Lift to help our students sell deals. So if you have a deal that's sent to us, we can actually use our Investor Lift account and try to find a buyer. But most people don't want to JV because you obviously lose the money. But in our opinion is I'd rather make 30, 40, 50% than lose the deal entirely because of ego, right? So we love to JV as well, especially if it's a market that we find a deal and we're not normally there. So what goes in the deal package? Like I said, we'll give you the detailed example down below, but you obviously want the property address, right? You want to have the full address, you want to have the zip code, and you want to maybe include some neighborhood contacts. You want to have your asking price, which is including your assignment fee. Okay. You want to see your estimated ARV. Do not be the wholesaler that inflates ARV. Like, experienced investors know what an inflated ARV is, and that is the rule that I'm just going to cut you off my list. Okay. Also, you just don't want to screw people over. Okay. Be very conservative. If you're conservative, everybody wins. So just make sure you have integrity and you're being very honest. When you have your repair costs, I'm telling you right now, if you tell me that the house is $30,000 repair and I take a look at the photos and it looks like it's like a decrepit property, you're off my list. Okay. Whatever you think your estimating cost is, add like 10, 15 grand. So especially in the beginning, as you guys are starting this process of marketing your deals, always mark up your deals by 10 to 15 grand, because I promise you, people are going to respect you a lot more if you estimate more on the high side for renovations. Okay. You want to show people what their projected profit is, because this is a great selling point. So if your numbers are good and you do your math right, and you say, if you buy this house, ARV is this much money, it's looking like you're going to make about a $30,000 to $40,000 profit, which is a 20% return, right? You want to sort of talk their language, talk like your experience, and understand the math and understand how to sell it and package it. Because at the end of the day, that's what people care about. If you're not telling us how much money you think we're going to make, I may not even look at it. I know there are flippers in my local market that won't even look at a deal unless they're going to make at least 30K off it, which I don't blame them, because they're taking a ton of risk to actually renovate it and sell it. So I respect what they're looking for. Okay. Photos and closing days. So you obviously want to tell them when you plan to close escrow. This is super important when you're doing county records like we teach, because obviously people are potentially losing their house. So you want to make sure that you have that closing date solid and that you're openly telling them when your closing date is. Number 2, photos. Please give a Google Drive link when you send photos. Do not send photos through text message or emails and have 100 photos. Just organize it in a shareable Google Drive calendar or Google Drive folder. I promise you, way easier and you're going to look way more professional. If you need somebody, if you are virtual like we are, what you can do is you can get the contract signed and then pay an inspector who is a licensed inspector to go to the property, check it out for you, and do a 1-page photo summary. That's what we do. So we pay the guy $200, $300, super worth it if it's a good deal, to actually get someone in there to look at the property, give you a 1-page summary that you can throw into your dispo package. No one is freaking doing this. You're going to look so professional, and it's going to give you leverage to renegotiate with the seller if something super wrong is in the property and they never told you. Okay. Let's say you get under contract for 100 grand. Your inspector goes out there, does a big ass hole in the roof, and they never told you. You can actually use that to renegotiate or just cancel the contract. And then you're not going to look crazy when investors go in the house and look at it and realize there's a huge hole in the roof. Okay. You got to do it. So negotiating assignment fee. So this is also a sales process. Now, this is not going to be as painful as dealing with the seller, because this is business to business, right? You're dealing with investors, you're dealing with people that know the game and understand the numbers, but there's definitely a frame that you want to use when you're trying to get a little bit more money for your dispo. Okay. Here's the golden rule of negotiation. Lead with the buyer's profit and not your assignment fee. Okay, so what I asked on the very top is to project how much money they're going to make. Buyers don't care what you make. I promise you, if a investor gets mad that you're making 50K off your assignment fee, you don't want to do business with them. Most of us don't give a shit. If we think we're going to make 70 grand off this flip, I don't care if you're making 50 grand in the assignment. You found me the deal that's going to make me 70K. So it's all a mindset thing. Okay. Frame the deal around their return and your fee just becomes invisible, right? They're not going to care. So this is the wrong approach. I've got this property for 90K, my assignment's 10K, so the total is $90,000 to you, right? So it's crazy. The buyer immediately fixates on the $10,000 assignment fee and tries to negotiate it down, right? That's a stupid way to do it. The right way to do it is this property has an ARV after repair value of 150, needs about 30K. So at the $90,000 purchase price, you're looking at a $30,000 profit. The buyer sees a clear path to how much money they make, and the deal just speaks for themselves. If they look at the numbers and it checks out and they believe they're going to make 30K, it's a no-brainer. Okay. Do you see the difference? Same deal, same numbers, but you framing it changes everything. You want to anchor the conversation on what the buyer gains and not what it costs them. So you're going to get objections just like sellers, right? So this is the objection handling script. A lot of people will probably say your house is too high, which is fine. Don't lower your price immediately. Instead, redirect the conversation back to the numbers and let the deal defend itself. This is not a seller conversation where you're going to handle emotional pain. This is all logical numbers. Okay. So buyer says that price seems high. I don't think the numbers work. Yep. Totally hear you, man. Let's look at it. Let's look at this together. So the ARV on this property is 150 based on 3 recent comps within a half mile. Would you say that's fair? If they agree with you, amazing. So rehab's about 30K. And so at 90,000, you're looking at about 30K in profit, man. That's a solid 20% return. What numbers would you need to be at to make this work for you? So it's the same concept of what you would do with the seller, but it's a little more structured. Okay. Why does this work? You're not going to argue with them. Okay. You're not going to say, oh, you don't know your numbers, you blah, 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 you're stupid. You're going to collaborate with them. You're going to restate the value back with the data, and you're going to open the door for the buyer to counter. You're not going to say, well, I need to make it 90K. What would this work for you? And they may say a number that's way higher than you're willing to lower, right? So it's the same thing with the seller. When to walk away. If the buyer wants a price that kills your fee entirely, just politely pass and say, hey, appreciate your time. If anything changes, I'll keep you posted. Never give your deal away for free. Okay? You did the hard work. You did your numbers right. You underwrote it correctly. You should get paid. And you should get rewarded for that. So let's talk about assignment versus double close. This is a very important topic because wholesaling regulations are getting more and more in depth, right? So assignments is you just sign the contract, you sign the rights to the property, but there are a lot more issues nowadays with this in some states, not every state. So you never own the property. Your fee is very visible. Okay. This is very transparent. So when you wholesale a deal, your title company has to have a place in the closing HUD statement that shows that you've made X amount of money. Okay, this can't be secret. So what's the cost? It's lower cost because you're only doing one closing, and it's a lot fewer fees, and it's just super less complicated, right? It's beginner friendly. You're just finding a buyer and you're going to sell it. And then most deals happen like this as beginners, right? You find a buyer, you get a contract signed, and you go find an investor to go buy it. You're done. You get paid. A double close is a little more complicated, but it also keeps you safer from all the weird wholesaling regulations and laws because you actually buy the property. So you need to borrow the money or whatever the case may be. There are tons of lenders out there, investors especially, that will lend money on this for a percentage of the fee. So if you go buy a house for 200 grand and you talk to an investor like myself, we will lend that money to you at 2%. So you're going to pay us 2% the day you close, but you have to immediately sell it. So they won't lend you the money unless you find a buyer. So let's say I get it under contract, I buy it today on a Friday, the next Monday or whatever the case may be, you already have a buyer identified and you need to have that contract signed before the lender actually wires the money to the title company, or else no one's going to do it. Okay. but you actually own the property for like an hour or a day, whatever the case may be, and your profit is actually private. So the seller, the original seller, won't see how much money you made because you're actually going to close it and buy it. They get paid their 200 grand. And then an hour later, you're going to close again and sell the property to an investor that's buying it at a higher price. So the seller never sees it. This is going to cost you more because you're closing 2 times versus 1 time. Very, very simple. Okay. This is a more complex deal because you actually need transactional funding, which is a lender like myself, or you need cash to actually buy it. Okay. What this is best for is you're going to make a lot of money and you don't want anyone to know, right? Because some sellers may feel a little upset if you made $60,000 off a deal when they're in a bad spot. So if you're going to make a lot of money, I recommend double closing and just paying the fees. Okay. We do that all the time, right? I have a great lender named Brenda. She's in this community as well. She loaned one of my deals in Kentucky that we made like 30 grand off of, and then she got paid her 2%. Okay. So closing timeline. So when you get something under contract, you're not going to close super fast. Okay. So you got to understand that. But this is kind of the process of closing a deal. Some deals take 7 days, some deals take 30 days, whatever the case may be. With a organized title company and a ready buyer, it could be even faster. Okay. So step one, you obviously get the deal signed, right? And then you also get a buyer to sign their B2C contract, which shows that they're serious about buying. And then also, when you get a deal under contract, this is super important. Okay. You're going to charge them a high earnest money deposit, an EMD. So what we usually like to do is we charge a $3,000 to $5,000 non-refundable earnest money deposit. Why do we do this? We want to kick the tire kickers, right? We want to get them out of the way. We want to get all the weirdo buyers out of the way, all the daisy chainers, where we can talk about daisy chainers later, but you're going to kick out all the weird JV partners that are lying, that say they're a buyer, and then they're going to try to market it to somebody else. You need that EMD within 24, 48 hours, and then you're going to ask them for a receipt, or you get the title company to tell you like, okay, cool, like this buyer sent their $5,000 earnest money. That shows they're serious. Okay. If they don't send you earnest money within the time frame that you're telling them, drop the contract and go find another buyer. Do not waste your time waiting for earnest money and wait 10 days. Then the buyer ultimately backs out. And then now you only have 4 to 5 days to find a buyer, and then you can screw the seller over. So make sure you're very strict with earnest money. Number two, once you have earnest money, you're going to open title. So you're going to call the title company. You're going to open up escrow. You're going to give your earnest money, which the buyer ends up paying for it. And then this process can take 5 to 10 days. This is super important to clear title. This is to make sure that there's no weird liens, no weird bills that someone has to pay. Also, when you have title cleared, you have a lot more trust with buyers. So the last thing that you want to do is have buyers go to the property, they want to buy it, and then they find out 2 days later that you never ran title. And then they find out that there's a solar bill on the property for like 30 grand. The deal's dead, right? It kills your credibility. So make sure you run title, okay? Near the end, your closing disclosures issued. This shows how much money is getting transferred to who, the seller, the buyer, yourself, all these different things, right? You want to review everything super carefully to make sure everything is annotated on this closing statement, because this is what's going to be recorded and be law. So make sure you check this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to get the closing day, right? The day that you get there, they wire the money in, you're good to go. You get the difference. You walk away smiling with a big check, and then you're going to post in the school committee once you close this deal. So that's it, honestly, right? 4 steps between you and a check. This is the key to a smooth closing is communication. Make sure you're talking to the seller. Make sure you're talking to the title company. Make sure you're talking to the buyer. Don't like be silent and hope everything's going to work. You need to stay on top of everybody. If you're being overwhelmed, then I would hire a transaction coordinator. Transaction coordinators are trained professionals in the real estate community that will literally handle the paperwork, handle calling the title company, talking to the buyers, talking to the sellers, all that stuff for you. Obviously, it costs a fee, but for us, we're more than happy to pay, $1,000, $1,200 per deal if we can focus on what's more important. Focusing on what's more important is finding the next deal. Now, obviously, $1,000 is a lot of money. That's usually for a creative finance deal, but you can get way cheaper transaction coordinators if it's a traditional cash wholesale deal. If you're doing 2-3 deals a month, bro, you're gonna realize that transaction coordination is for the birds. Okay, we want to focus on the money making activities. So we use the professionals that are trained to do the paperwork and call the title companies. We want to focus on crushing sellers. You know what I'm saying? So focus on that. This is super important. So here's your summary here, your full checklist, just like every module. We'll wrap this up for you, put it in the checklist down below. But I'm not going to read this for you, but basically just rehash all this stuff. And then most importantly, at the very bottom of the post, just like everything else, the accountability post, make sure you tell us that you watched this video. Tell us what your biggest takeaway is. And like I said, if you're interested in having us partner with you guys to sell your deals, just we'll have that link down there as well. So hope you guys learned how to fully dispo a deal, how to package it, and how to sell it. And then we'll see you guys at the next module.
Welcome to the final module of the free course. If you've gone through the entire 4-hour course, I applaud you for your dedication and effort to get your wholesaling business launched. But in this module specifically, we're going to be talking about the inner circle, what it looks like, and how we help people personally on how to scale their wholesale business. So let's get into it. So in Inner Circle, we teach people how to scale their businesses using optimized marketing channels, AI optimization and automations, the hiring OS, so you can focus on hiring A-level talent into your business so you can slowly remove yourself from the daily 80-hour-a-week grind, right? So Hayes Merker here, he's a local realtor / investor in Florida, and he came to us with a struggling wholesale business. He was spending a ton of money on marketing, direct mail specifically, spending about $5,000 to $8,000 a month and closing maybe 1-ish to 2 deals a month. He switched to hyper niche data. So what we preach regularly by using the best and purest data that updates on a daily, weekly basis. And he implemented our operating system and CRM to automate his entire business. What he ended up doing was closing $20,000 to $30,000 a month, just automating his probate campaigns with his automated SMS with AI booking calls. It's absolutely insane. He would just find probate data, plug it into the system, send out text messages, booked calls on his calendar, and then he would actually do this on his own. So he's a solo operator making $20,000 to $30,000 a month, working part-time in the business, and only spending 20 hours a week on his business. So absolutely insane. We love Hayes. He's absolutely crushing it. Next, we have Carrie Tyler. She is a absolute beast, right? So she built and launched her business from scratch just a few months ago, and she focused only on county records. So she does what we preach in terms of focusing on county records. She does 4 different markets virtually. She built a small sales team and trained them within our sales operating system, where we taught all her sales reps the scripts, the processes, the frameworks, and then we also do weekly Q&As with their team, and they're absolutely crushing it. She's contracted and closed over 6 deals in the last 90 days, and she was also highlighted by DataFlick for her fastest growth. Like DataFlick is one of the biggest, data providers in the real estate industry, and they actually highlighted her recently and how fast her growth was. Next, we have Jin. Love Jin so much. He was a solopreneur wholesaler as well, and he was actually cold calling bulk data for over a year. He had 0 deals under contract, and he just didn't know what to do when he found us. What he then did, he took super fast action and followed our exact blueprint and systems. And then ultimately, he focused on one lead type, which is pre-foreclosures. And now he does tax delinquent sales. But when he first started in our program, he was only focusing on pre-foreclosures for the first 60 days. He signed 3 contracts and closed 2 of them for $27,000. So he went from a year of cold calling with 0 deals to getting 3 signed contracts within 60 days and then making $27,000. Now he's focusing on optimizing his current marketing channels and then eventually hiring someone using our hiring OS system. Next, we have Simon. This guy had no real estate experience. He had a marketing background, and he wanted to start his own wholesale business. So what he did was, he's never done sales. He doesn't take sales calls. So if you guys are worried about being able to talk on the phone and all that stuff, that was Simon. He didn't want to do any of that. So what he did was he went completely virtual. So if you guys don't know, Simon actually lives in Israel, and he's not even in the United States, and he's running a wholesale business in a whole nother country. So what he did was he followed our hiring operating system that literally breaks down step by step on how to hire people, how to bring team members into your actual company, and actually how to train them, how to retain them, and also how to pay them ultimately, right? So with the combination of the hiring OS and our sales training, he had a full-time acquisition manager within his business. He closed a pre-foreclosure deal in the first 30 days of joining our program, making $17,000 all the way in Europe. So if you guys are wondering if you can't do this business virtually, this guy literally proves it. He's doing it in a whole nother country. Last but not least, we have Ashton Campbell. He's also a real estate investor / agent, spent a ton of marketing dollars, spent $30,000 on a coaching program. He came into us, followed our operating system, our CRM, all the automations. He automated his whole marketing channels with texting, emailing, and then also he cold calls as well. 43% increase in quality book calls with our AI system. He also closed 3 retail deals in the last few months. So what is the Inner Circle? Okay. Inner Circle is our paid done with you program that helps wholesalers, flippers, and portfolio investors build and scale profitable real estate businesses. Okay. We use automations with AI. We use cost-effective marketing, and we have proven sales systems built into the program. In the last 4 years, we've generated over $1 million in revenue and helped clients go from 0 to 10,000 to 30,000 and $50,000 per month in profit. And that's net. That is not revenue. That is net profit. What we do is we help build and launch. So we help you plan, build, market, and then close deals step by step. You're going to follow a clear roadmap instead of guessing, overthinking, and waiting for everything to be perfect. Okay. Optimize marketing. So learn in detail how to use cost-effective outbound marketing to generate warm leads and sales, detailed breakdowns on each marketing channel, what the best practices are, and how to track everything within your businesses using advanced KPIs. Okay. You need to understand this, and we teach you guys step by step on optimized marketing. Email marketing. This is absolutely insane. We just added this in Wholesaling 2.0 in Inner Circle. So we teach people how to create the exact email marketing system that can generate you up to 300x on your return on investment within the Inner Circle. This is something my personal marketing agency actually charges $1,500 a month to build out your copy, build out your campaigns, and we manage everything for you. But I'm going to break this down step by step within the Inner Circle. So this is what you guys get. This is a brand new thing that we added to help people out in scaling their business. Automation, the CRM. So to build your foundation, to help accelerate that foundation, we give you a fully customized real estate software. It's built with the automations, it's built with the workflows, it's built with the AI, texting, and voice agents. This is built for you, and it comes with a full-time 40-hour support. This is all included within the Inner Circle. So not only do you get the coaching, the systems, and all that, you're also going to get the real estate software, so you don't have to pay $3,000, $4,000 somewhere else to get this. AI. Okay, super important. Everyone's talking about AI. Use AI to move faster across your business. Okay, from marketing, auditing your sales calls, auditing your scripts, writing your email copy, and operations. AI becomes an absolute multiplier that saves you a ton of time. It saves your costs, right? Because you don't need as many VAs or employees. And it helps you execute at a way higher level. Our members will have access to our New Breed AI that has the entire knowledge base of our entire course, entire businesses, all within the AI, where you can actually feed it sales calls like your transcripts, and it'll literally give you feedback. It'll tell you what you're doing wrong with your hiring process. It'll tell you everything that's what you're doing wrong with your marketing, all by just chatting with the AI. Sales mastery. So you're going to turn attention, so all the marketing you do, into closed contracts using the proven frameworks of the closer framework, right? We're going to give you the objection bucketing training, more advanced objection handling, bunch of lead magnets for your marketing campaigns, how to option sell, learn how to master the sales process in a way that feels simple, ethical, and effective. Okay. So scaling to 7 figures. So you can't do this business on your own, right? Like everyone who started a business realized they can't do every single hat on their own in order to grow. You need to surround yourself with A+ players in order to grow. So in the Inner Circle in 2.0, this is what we've added to this, is you can get access to the hiring operating system. It's a detailed breakdowns of how we hire talented sales managers and have built out an onboarding program completely done for you for all your new sales managers. So when you guys bring in your new sales managers, we have an onboarding program fully built out for them where you can just plug and play them into the system. So you don't have to spend tens of thousands of hours training your acquisition reps. You're going to get an expert coaching team. You're supported by a full team of operators that actually run a real estate business, right? Phil and I both run a business. You get access to my business partner, Jake. This is not just a course. This includes a world-class operator that runs my entire business, right? Plus the sales, the marketing, and even ads if you want to run inbound. We all focus on the execution, and it's not going to be on the theory. Live Q&As and direct access to us. So you will get multiple live Q&A calls with me and the team. You can ask questions, you can get feedback, and you can unblock yourself extremely fast using these live Q&As. I personally show up and guide you through the entire process, so you get direct access to me on a weekly basis. Exclusive community. So the inner circle is kept intentionally smaller. Okay, so you don't get lost. Like our free group has, 1,000 people in it. The inner circle is way more intimate, way more smaller. You get higher quality conversations. You get the real feedback you need in inner circle. And then also you can build real relationships and real support from serious operators. So it's not just a bunch of random people. These are all people trying to actively grow their real estate businesses. So I'm going to show you guys the roadmap, where you guys are, where you guys can head using the inner circle. And I'm going to show you right now. All right, so this is where you guys are at right now. So you guys are at the New Breed free course. You're getting the free training right now. You also have the free community where you can collaborate, speak to other investors, and get any advice. And then you also get the weekly workshops here in the free school group. So this happens every Saturday. As you guys grow, this is just one piece of the puzzle here. So there's a huge roadmap here. As you can see, there's the Launch OS, which is the first module that you had access to. And then we also have the Inner Circle. So the Inner Circle is a compilation of multiple courses. You get the Marketing OS, where we go super in detail about each marketing channel, what best practices are. This is like a 4 to 5 hour masterclass alone sitting in Marketing OS. We don't publicly give this out because this actually prevents us from having the competitive advantage that we have in our business. This is like what everything that we do. So like how many cell phones we use, how many text messages, what our text messages say. You also have the CRM that's included with the Inner Circle that has all the flows and automations and how often we call people, how aggressive we are, what the best practices, what the best KPIs are. We break this down entirely within the Marketing OS. Then you go into the Sales OS. So a lot of you guys have probably already watched the sales workshop that I did last Saturday. This is so much more in depth. The objection training alone is about 3 hours long. So this is a complete breakdown of the sales framework that breaks down our team's 153-page sales manual into understandable, coachable sales training within the school community. Next, we have the Operator OS. This is how to build your systems, build your team structure, and the software stacks that we use. So we'll be talking about AI software, of how we use AI to implement and accelerate our business. Also, there's going to be detailed breakdowns of how to use closed CRM within the operator system, how we and our community are using closed CRM to generate super quality leads without spending tons of hours in their business. Next, we're going to do Hiring OS. This is brand new for Wholesale 2.0. This is going to be a 6 or 7 module course alone on how to properly hire people, where to find talent, and then ultimately how to retain your talent, right? So the last thing that you want to do is hire, finally, after going through hundreds and hundreds of candidates, to hire one person that's super quality and then they end up quitting 6 months later because you don't know how to keep them. So we're going to talk about payment compensations. We're going to talk about how to use how to give them benefits, all these different things. We're going to be talking about performance enhancement programs, right? PIPs. We're going to be talking about actual things that businesses run inside Hiring OS. Ascension OS is going to talk about the 7-figure mindset, right? How to have the right mindset, the right tools, the right thought process, the right way of thinking to be able to scale your current business to eventually hitting 7 figures. This will have crazy training that we've received in our $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 masterminds that we're going to bring inside to Inner Circle, right? We do have the OS scale program here, but this is not for you. Those are people that are achieving 100K plus per month in their wholesale or flipping business. We want to talk about the Inner Circle here. So as we scroll into the Inner Circle here, this is the program that's going to help you scale to at least 30K plus a month using niche data, optimized marketing, and the AI. Okay, you're going to learn how to launch your profitable real estate business from Module 1, how to generate motivated sellers without spending insane amounts of money, how to convert the leads into signed purchase agreements, how to safely use the profits of your deals to safely scale your marketing, not like the other programs where they're telling you to spend $10,000, $20,000 a month on PPC, inbound leads, We're going to teach you how to profitably and safely scale up your marketing. Then ultimately, you don't want to be in your business anymore. We are going to teach you guys how to hire and allow you to focus on what's truly important and what actually moves the needle for your business. So in the inner circle right now, you're going to get the full course, right? You're going to get all the modules I just showed you in the bottom. You're also going to get the New Breed AI that has the whole entire course, all Philonized knowledge, all inside this AI, where you can communicate with it, ask it questions, review your KPIs, review your sales calls. It can do all these different things that we built this out for this community. It's going to be absolutely insane. You're also going to get weekly live Q&As, actual Q&As with myself, my team, where if you have any questions, we're going to freaking answer them for you live on Zoom. Okay. Also, we are super more active. You have access to my partner, Jake. So if you guys ask questions about operating systems, KPIs, you'll have Jake be able to answer your questions, and it's going to be freaking awesome. You're probably wondering if you're ready to take the next step. So let's start off by some expectations of why people think that they're not ready yet and talk about the real problems. So I work a full-time job and I don't have the time to do this. I want to start off to say that this is absolutely false and this is a limiting belief. Okay. We can help you find the direction you need in order to grow your business, even if you have a 9-to-5 job. We have tons of people in the program right now that have 9-to-5 jobs, and we're helping them hire out their first acquisition managers and automating all the mundane tasks that they don't want to do with our operating system. Myself included, I worked 9-to-5 full time in the military when I first started this wholesale business. And it's absolutely doable if you have the right steps. I did everything myself for the last 4 years, and I want to accelerate your learning by compacting the entire 4 years within this inner circle program here. I feel like this is a big step, and it absolutely is. Okay. But it's a good thing that you feel this way, because this shouldn't be a feeling of a small change. This should be a massive change with your paradigm and your mental state, right? You need to truly believe that you can do this. Now, what I like to do is share like a quick story or like an analogy that you don't jump the entire mountain in one jump, right? You take it step by step. You climb the mountain step by step. And that's where my team and the other people in the community are there for, to help guide you up the mountain step by step. A lot of folks will say that their market is too competitive. That's also a limiting belief. I mean, we are in Houston, Texas, and Louisville, Kentucky. They're some of the most competitive markets probably in the country. But in reality, if it's more competition, that means there's way more money available. That means people are actively buying and investing. Don't be afraid of competition, because 90% of wholesalers quit within the first year. And they also don't have any systems. They're just cold calling on a spreadsheet. They're just texting messages with their phones and they're not following up. There's so many different things that they're not doing in order to help themselves grow. So your competition really isn't real, right? There's only a few big players in every city. So there's a lot of self-doubt, right? Most people feel this. I did. Most of the community did prior to the starting, right? But with the right guidance, this self-doubt disappears, because once you understand the playbook and the systems, you get way more confident in the process. And with the process, you get more confident in yourself when you're dealing with deals, buyers, investors, and sellers. So who do you listen to, right? This is a very simple question. I used to ask myself all the time. I've paid over 200 grand in coaching, masterminds, mentorships. And you want to learn from someone that has what you want, right? That's doing the things that you want to do and has been where you are, including myself. Like I said, like I worked a 9-to-5 job, grinding on this, lost tens of thousands of dollars, spent $200,000 in coaching and mentoring to figure out what exactly it is. Like when I first started, there was no actual playbook for this. There was no actual play-by-play. And that's why we want to start the inner circle, to provide that blueprint to help as many people as possible not go through the same things that I did. Now, if you are ready to take the next step, here's what we can do. So we do a free strategy call, right? It's a book call link right below this video. You get a one-on-one walkthrough of how we personally help people build profitable real estate businesses using the proven frameworks and systems that we personally use. On this call, you're going to get a growth roadmap. We're going to show you how to start, how to run, and how to sprint while building a wholesale or flipping business. Whether you work with us or not, this is, whatever you want to do. We obviously would love to have you within the inner circle, but ultimately this strategy call is truly to be a strategy call and give you guys as much value as possible. We're also going to show you the biggest opportunities in your business during this call. Okay, we'll identify where your biggest opportunities for growth are. and what to truly focus on within the next 30 to 60, 90 days. We're going to give you that action plan. So once we figure out your biggest opportunities within the next 90 days, we're going to give you that action plan. So we'll build a clear 90-day plan with you on how to install our new Breeze system and scale your business with confidence. So after the call, what are the next steps? If you find that it's a good fit, we'll show you how to continue inside the inner circle and get hands-on from our team and myself. This is how you get started and how you book a call. You go to newbreedinvestor.io/start or click the link down below and book your call. So we got a few more testimonials from Jaime, Edwin, Timmy, Twanika, right? You saw Jin before. You also got guys from Salvador, Wanya, Claudia, Justin, just a bunch of other testimonials here. But if you guys do want to get started in the inner circle, book your free one-on-one strategy call here. We'd love to see you guys within the inner circle and see you guys on the call.